And we are live. Hey guys, how you doing? I
Doing good.
I'm joined by Ryan and Mike. Their channels are in the description. I'm gonna have them talk about their channels a little bit. Ryan, you wanna say what you do on your channel?
Yeah, man. So thanks for having me on for one. And so as far as my channel goes, I pretty much do I pretty much just do movie reviews. I do Blu-ray hunts. I do end of the month hauls, and I cover a variety of movies. I do a lot of Shutter screenings, and yeah, I mean, pretty much. If you want to hear about a lot of smaller movies, I cover a lot of smaller movies on my channel. I've done short films. I've covered a lot of different stuff on my channel, and I always enjoy, I think, covering more of the smaller movies that people don't know about rather than the bigger movies that, you know, all of us are reviewing. I rather would review smaller stuff that people don't know about and can hear about. And I think more so with my channel, I really want people to kind of connect with some of the smaller films and, give them a chance and try it out. Maybe go out of their comfort zone. So, yeah, that's pretty much what my channel is about.
Yeah, Ryan has a great format. You're very consistent, man, and I admire that. And you've been a huge supporter of this channel from I think like my second video or something. So it's super
Yeah.
cool to have you on, man. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
How about you, Mike?
Yeah, so over on my channel, I do movie reviews very similar to Ryan, where I cover the bigger movies and the smaller movies. I also cover like Back to the Future content. That's kind of my niche for my channel. Kind of like adventure days and vlogs and even some food videos now and then. So yeah, it's a little bit about what my channel's all around.
Alrighty.
Awesome. Yeah, Mike also does an amazing job. Cool to see him. And dude, you always support my new videos too, so I appreciate it.
Yeah,
Definitely go
lovely
check
content,
both
man.
of them out. They're both in the description, so yeah, check them out. Go sub to them. We got one chat already. Before we get started, our big subject matter for this stream, I'm super excited to hear your picks for this. We're going to go through our top 5 favorite directors of all time. Um, I don't know what to expect. I don't know what you guys are going to choose, but I'm really excited to see.
Sweet.
So we got Jason in here,
Hey, Jason.
and I just learned how to
Hey,
highlight.
Jason.
Cool. Hey, what's up, Jason? He
You
says,
got some.
hey guys, I love the subject matter. I have my own top 5 I want to reveal during the show.
Sounds
Cool,
good,
man.
man.
Yeah, as we're
Sounds
going
good.
through them, throw them out in the chat. That'll be awesome.
All right. Mike, do you have honorable mentions for yours, or did you just do 5?
Yeah, I picked out one honorable mention.
Okay.
Because I didn't know if we were doing them or not.
Yeah, I have 5, and I think Harry, you have 5 honorable mentions.
Yeah,
Right?
we went a little overboard, Mike.
Okay. Okay.
But,
I'm sure I can maybe add to the ones that you guys have got as well if they're not on my list.
That works.
cool, sounds good. Do you guys want to start with the honorable mentions, or do you think we should start with our 5th choice?
Yeah, we can go with honorable mentions if you want.
All right.
Should we do Mike's first since he just has the 1, and then me and you go with the 5? I guess.
Sure. Yeah. Go ahead, Mike.
All right. So my one honorable mention that I wrote down was Sam Raimi.
Oh,
Okay.
nice. Good pick.
And that's purely because of like the Spider-Man trilogy was kind of the first superhero movies I grew up on.
Mm-hmm.
And still some of the best superhero movies in my first opinion to today's date. So yeah, I mean also a master of horror and superhero genres, so we can do kind of anything as long as get given the task, I guess.
Yeah.
Very cool pick.
Sam Raimi.
And he did like Evil Dead too, right? Is that him?
Yep.
Right.
Very cool.
Sure.
Were you a fan of the new Doctor Strange that he did?
Yes and no. Like I think I enjoyed it more for when I saw it the first like 2 times because I saw it a couple of times on its opening weekend. But I think as the movie's like gone on and you have time to think about the movie more, I've kind of grown to be like, it's all right, but it's nothing, where I want to revisit it multiple times over kind of thing,
Yeah. Yeah, and maybe it's not fair even to attribute that to him because I think me and you both agree that Marvel kind of, has hired hands as directors versus giving them creative freedom. So
No.
I'm not sure if that's the movie he wanted to make or not, but Figured I'd ask.
Right, definitely. Well, at the time of Doctor Strange, from what I've heard from like Bruce Campbell, was quite vocal about this on social media. Apparently, Marvel changed the vision of that movie quite a lot from his original depiction of Doctor Strange. So, yeah, I think you're right.
Oh wow! See, I didn't even know that, but that makes sense.
Interesting.
And we got the View with Drew here saying, "Hey, what's up?
What's going on,
Drew.
Drew?
What's up?" And he says some of his favorite directors are Steven Spielberg, Tarantino, and Martin Scorsese.
All righty.
Those are
Cool.
all solid.
Good picks.
Yeah.
Hey.
That's awesome. All right, Ryan, you want to go with an honorable mention?
Yeah, so let's see. I wrote these down. So my first honorable mention, you probably have never heard of this guy, but his name is Brian Bertino. He did the first two Strangers films, and he also did a film on Shudder called The Dark and the Wicked. So if you've heard of those films or you've watched those films.
I have not. But I'm
You never watched
interested.
I've seen the Stranger movies. I prefer the first one over the second.
I agree. I just think the way that he captured that movie, Mike, with Liv Tyler, and just the way that just the suspenseful parts in that movie. The part that's really suspenseful to me is just you don't know where the killers are, and just the way that he portrayed these people as like mystery people, and towards the end of the film when they're asking them like why they're doing this, they don't have like a figurative answer. It's just like you were home and we want to kill you type thing. So
right.
I just that movie has always stuck with me as a horror film. I guess you would consider that a slasher. Would you consider that a slasher, Mike?
No. I think just because like slashers is like Michael Myers and Jason and like those guys, where I would say The Stranger is more like psychological, personally.
Okay.
But obviously everyone defines it differently,
Yeah, definitely. I definitely like the first one over the second one. The second one's a little bit more wacky, and I think the reason why it was really wacky is because it was on the shelf for so long. And I think that the second one came out, if I'm not mistaken, it was around like 2017 or 18. It may have been a little bit further back now. I can't remember, but it was around that time. And it was so long between the first one, because the first one came out, I believe, in 08 or 09, around there. And there was so much delay and production issues. So the second one kind of came off a little bit different than the first one. It was a little bit more goofy, I thought. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So
I'm going to have to check it out. You got me intrigued, man.
Yeah, Liv Tyler's in the first one, and I forget who's in the second one because it's been a while since I watched it. But she's in the first one, and she's really good. So
cool.
Well, just a heads up. Do you guys know that they're making a Strangers trilogy?
No.
Yeah. So, have you guys ever seen the series Riverdale?
I've seen a few episodes. I haven't watched the full series.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, the one of the main girls there called Cheryl Blossom in the cast, played by Madeline Petch. She signed on, and apparently they've already filmed a trilogy, like a remake.
Interesting.
So I'm curious where they're going to go with that.
Yeah, that sounds really interesting. I didn't hear about that.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool. Well, I'll go with my honorable mention here. I'm sure it's someone you all know. My fifth honorable mention is Ridley Scott.
Okay.
Just love him as a director. The reason he's not on my top 5 is because for me he's not very consistent. I don't love all his movies, especially some of the newer ones. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of them, but when he does sci-fi or some of those older movies like Alien or The Martian or time period movies like Gladiator, he makes some of the best. I don't know why he doesn't stick with that, because he does so good with those. But yeah, for me it would be Ridley Scott. I think he's a great director for that type of stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say for him, I think that he has lost a little credibility because he's older now. I still like him. Um, what I've heard recently is I think when he made a comment recently where he talked about how Marvel is like the only thing that people watch nowadays, and I think this is when Gucci came out. I believe it was around something that he directed, and he made some comment, and I think it turned a lot of people off. So I don't know how his future holds because I think he's in his 80s now. I believe.
Yeah, I think he is.
Right.
And it does kind of show, like,
Mm.
but the thing is, what's weird is like a lot of directors are making comments about that. You have,
Yeah.
I know Quentin Tarantino recently talked about how he feels like he doesn't really want to release his 10th movie until they, the fad of movies about superheroes ends, because he feels like there's this infatuation with those movies that's gonna fade away eventually. And
Right.
I think Martin Scorsese said the same thing, that he was saying some of his ideas he can't even get funded right now because they just
Of the
want to
whole.
make, yeah, they want to make movies about IPs they already own or whatever.
Mm.
So, yeah,
That's a
it's
bummer.
kind of sad. Yeah. So I get where he's coming from, but I'm with you. It's just like that's why I couldn't put him on the top, even though I love some of his movies, because I'm like, it's not that consistent. I don't know.
Right.
It's hard to.
I understand. No worries. Um,
Right.
So my next honorable mention. This is another smaller director. You guys probably haven't heard of him either, but Sean Baker. So he did Red Rocket last year, the A24 film. He did a film called Tangerine, and he did a film called The Florida Project. They're all smaller films.
Same
So
Florida Project.
you've seen The Florida Project?
Yeah.
So what did you think about that, Mike?
So I saw it back when it was in the cinema originally,
Mm-hmm.
and I felt like it was a wasted movie.
Oh man.
But if I was to revisit it, maybe I would like it.
Right.
And I just remember Willem Dafoe was in it.
Yeah, he was in it, and to me, that film. I don't know if you know this, but it was shot in Orlando. Mike, did you know that?
Yeah, because the same locations, I was like, every time I've been to Florida, I was like, I've drove by there. I've seen that place.
Yeah, they shot in Orlando, and the hotel exists and all that stuff. And what I kind of found and gathered from that film was just the way like the parents didn't watch the kids, and how the kids are just kind of wandering around doing what they want. They're cussing, they're trying to get people to buy them ice cream and stuff. And I don't know, it's not a movie that definitely would be for everybody, but for whatever reason it captivated me. And I just think what I like about Sean Baker as a director is he's very raw with his movies on like how he portrays people. And I feel like when I'm watching his movies, if you ever get a chance to watch Red Rocket or Tangerine, I feel like he picks these people, and they're not, these aren't, most of the people that are in his films are not really known actors. I mean, minus Willem Dafoe, but Red Rocket, for instance, if you ever get a chance to watch that, that is a film where, so this guy is a former porn star, and he goes back to visit his old hometown, and he's getting back with his wife that he's been cheating on. They live in this like crap hole trailer, and he's not working, and he tries to get with this underage girl and manipulate this underage girl. But his character, the way they portray his character is he's an asshole, but he at the same time is kind of funny. But he seems like a real character. He doesn't, to me, when I watched that movie, he didn't seem like an actor. He seemed like a real person that was just a crappy human being, how he was luring in this girl and just the way that he portrayed the part. And I really enjoyed the performance. And then as far as the movie Tangerine was filmed on an iPhone, and it has to do with this guy that he's dealing with like prostitution and all this other stuff. And it's like really capturing real life. And like I said, that's why I really like Sean Baker.
We'll have to check that out. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Have you seen 8mm with Nick Cage?
I have not.
I think you would like that film, Ryan. That it sounds like what you're talking about. It's a really good movie, but I got to check out what you're talking about too.
Let me write down.
Yeah.
Forever adding movies to our list.
Yeah, sorry, but you won't regret watching that.
Right.
We got Jason in here. Oh, his fifth pick, Robert Zemeckis for Back to the Future, Forrest Gump, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Flight, and Castaway. Wow, I didn't even realize he did all those films.
Yeah, I like all those films. Flight, I'm kind of about, but I like the rest of those films for sure.
Definitely. I'm sure Mike's a fan of, especially the Back to the Future there.
Well, yeah, that's true too.
Right. He's on my list. I'll see him all later.
No surprise. That's awesome. I watched Back to the Future recently, and that's... Well, we'll talk more about that, I'm sure, but that's a perfect movie.
Right.
And we got Kuka Games in here. What's up, Dylan? He says, nothing is as good as King Kong 2005 with Jack Black.
Nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, that's Peter Jackson, I think. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think so.
That's right.
Yeah, that's a good movie. It's probably the best King Kong.
Hold on. If I can find it in this bag here. Let's have a look. I'll show you guys where it. Right, so you might not be able to see this 100% clear, but I'll try hold it up. But that is a cinema ticket from 2005, King Kong.
Oh wow!
Oh, that is freaking awesome, Mike.
Right,
that is awesome. Wow.
Thanks.
Do you have a collection of all your tickets?
Yeah, so on my channel, I've started a series where it's called My Year in Cinema Tickets. The earliest I've got is 2005, and then I've got them all the way up till present. And they're all in this box right here, so I need to sort through them.
That is freaking awesome. Well, is it driving you crazy, Mike? Because I know personally, I don't even collect them, and it drives me crazy how they're not giving you a physical one if you go to the theater with a virtual ticket, like on your phone. Have you had that happen where they just scan your phone and they don't print one anymore?
Especially during COVID.
Yeah.
Because they had like those like self ticket machines turned off. But now that like they've relaxed it a little bit, it still says when you book on the app, tickets, no paper required, just go to the terminal. But I'm like, hell no, they don't know 2005 Mike lives right here. You know. So I've got to get that ticket every time I go.
Oh, wow.
That's so funny. Jason says, I took a first date to King Kong. Let's just say I regretted the movie and the date.
Bummer, buddy.
Damn.
Brilliant.
Sorry, Jason. We may have triggered a terrible memory there.
I kind of want to hear about this date.
Yeah.
Yeah. What was so
can
bad
you
about the date, Jason?
Can you please comment in more detail, Jason? All right, guys. My next honorable mention is Clint Eastwood.
Okay.
Oh, we lost Mike.
Oh, he'll come back.
Yeah.
We'll just you can go talk about Clint Eastwood.
Yeah. I just love him as a director. I don't love all his films. Kind of same thing with Ridley Scott. That's why he's on my honorable mentions. But he has enough movies for me that I'm like, I have to put him on honorable mentions between $1 Million Baby, Richard Jewell. I love that movie. If you haven't seen that, it's a newer one. And then, American Sniper. All great movies. So I love his style because all his films are really hard to watch, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen a lot of Clint Eastwood films, to be honest with you. Let me see his list, because I don't think I have.
Well, what you'll notice is he has a freaking huge list of movies he's directed, and
let me see.
Not all of them are amazing or popular, but when he hits pretty big.
Let me see what I've watched of his. I know I've watched Gran Torino. I've watched that. I will say this: I watched Cry Macho, and I was bored to tears on that movie.
Oh, really?
It's bored, very boring.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of his movies are slow, right?
Yeah, Richard Jewell was okay. I couldn't get into it. The Mule I never saw. Let me see what else he's got. Let's see. No, I haven't seen that. Hereafter. I want to say a lot of these movies I have not seen. To be honest with you, it's pretty bad.
I'm back. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Hey, Mike, no worries.
Am I still delayed?
No, a little.
Yeah, a little bit.
Oh, okay.
We'll see how it goes.
Oh, okay. I heard Clint Eastwood. That was the last thing I heard.
Yeah.
I was just telling him I haven't seen a lot of his movies, but I was telling him the last movie that I saw of his was Cry Macho, which bored me to tears.
I didn't see that one.
Yeah, I remember watching it on HBO Max, and I was like, "Why does this have good ratings? This is boring."
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know what it is with some of his movies for me. Like Richard Jewell, I walked out of that movie. My stomach was in knots. I was like upset, nauseous. I mean, movies don't do that to me usually, but something about that one, I felt like I was in his shoes or something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But I'm with you. A lot of his movies I can't get into, but when he makes a good one, it's really good.
I think also for him too is he's done a lot of westerns. So I didn't grow up with westerns. None of my family like introduced me into really westerns. I have seen very little. I have a very small library of probably westerns that I probably ever have watched. I think the last western movie that I watched recently this year was The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance. Have you ever seen that?
Nope.
No.
Okay. I think that movie was from the 60s or something like that. And it's got James Stewart in it. So
cool. That's interesting.
Cool.
But
yeah, to be honest, I haven't seen many Western movies. I've seen a lot of shows for whatever reason, like Gunsmoke or Rifleman. I like a lot of the shows that came out during that time, but yeah, I haven't seen too many movies.
Interesting. I guess we'll go to get ready to my next one.
All right, we'll get to you, Jason, with that epic comment.
All right, so my next honorable mention, you definitely know this guy. We've already talked about him. Ridley Scott.
There you go.
So for me, the movies that I've liked from him, that I wrote down, Mike, I hasn't seen this one yet, but I know it's on his list. But Gladiator.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Gladiator. He did Prometheus, which I really like. Prometheus, which is funny because I've seen that one, but I've never seen the Alien movies.
Oh, come on, Mike. I mean, Ryan.
Sorry. The Martian I like by him. Gucci, which a lot of people hated, and The Last Duel. I really love The Last Duel. It was one of my favorite.
You love The Last Duel.
It was one of my favorite movies last year.
I'm amazed The Last Duel got made. I mean,
yeah,
there's not many movies like that anymore.
But. No, and that was part of the reason. I think that may have been part of the reason he made the comments he did about the whole Marvel situation, because I think people didn't go out and see it. So I think that's what it was. It was a long movie, but and I think Jason, he's on here. He reviewed it, and I remember when he reviewed it, he was like, it's really slow. It's really boring. I just remember that. And I was like, I'm not surprised. This is not a movie that Jason would like, because I know Jason now with his slow movies. But I just remember that. But yeah, it was one of my favorites last year. I think also, too, I really love I love like time period piece kind of movies like that, especially with like knights and like King Arthur types of stuff. I mean, that stuff's cool to me. I like learning about that stuff and the history and some of the harsh times they had to deal with back then. And, it's so long ago. I mean, we can't even fathom what those times were like, So anytime
Jason
we go
says,
back.
You are correct, Ryan.
Yeah, I knew it.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. And I think that's when Ridley Scott does his best. I mean, like, how many movies have tried copying Gladiator? Like, even recently, Black Adam. I don't know if you guys felt this way, but there were a couple scenes where I'm like, this is right out of Gladiator. Like, if they would have just, like, I don't even care that they're copying it, but if they would have just, like, leaned into that, it would have been a way better movie. I don't know if you know what I'm talking about. I don't want to spoil anything, but.
So, I know Mike hasn't seen Gladiator, but
no.
For me personally, I found Black Adam to have a lot of CGI for me and
Yeah.
a little bit overabundance of it. And I think for me personally, I didn't mind the Justice Society, but my thing was we're learning about Black Adam, but then we're throwing extra characters on top of that. And I think in a way it took away a little bit from us trying to really get to know him at points in the movie. And then you have the human characters where you're kind of like, yeah, I guess not really, I don't say that I hated them completely, but I just kind of about it. But
Yeah.
I think as a superhero movie, it's not one of the worst, but it's, I liked it enough, but I didn't hate it. But I don't think it's a great movie either, if I'm being honest. So that was my opinion on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a fair take. I don't know, Mike, have you seen it yet?
Black Adam?
Yeah.
Yeah. Didn't like it at all.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. I saw your review. Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, like I like a dumb, fun superhero movie,
Right.
but it's just like with what Ryan was saying, like I hated the human characters in that movie.
Yeah.
And that little kid in his bloody speech with this, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
someone send a lightning bolt his way sometime soon.
Yeah, it reminded me of Mike. You remember Diamond Dallas Page, where he does the
Right.
diamond cutter.
The diamond cutter, yeah.
It's like, what is this? We going back to wrestling? Like, is he gonna do the diamond cutter on the Justice Society?
Man, honestly, it says something when the post-credit scene's better than the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, I wasn't a fan, but I appreciate anyone who liked that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, good for you if you like it. I mean, we can't all have the same opinion, I guess, but I wish I enjoyed it.
Oh, you really hated it, yeah.
I hated that movie a lot. But,
I'm glad it's not just me.
yeah.
Because I've been getting a lot of flack for not liking the movie.
But you're right, Mike. When the end credit scene is a breath of fresh air after the movie, you know it was bad.
Right.
But all right, who's next up? Is it?
Well, I just
Ryan?
did Ridley Scott, so it's your turn for your next one.
All right, man.
Well, not me. I had one.
Yeah, we'll try to move through them here. So
No, it's cool.
my next one would be Peter Jackson.
Okay.
90% of the reason being Lord of the Rings trilogy, but
Those
it's
are
just
great.
yeah, 3 of the best movies ever made. I think we can all agree on that, hopefully. But
Those are great movies.
yeah.
Definitely.
And even for me, I hate the Hobbit trilogy. I hate those movies a lot. But even hating them, I mean, the Lord of the Rings movies are incredible. So and then King Kong that Dylan set up there. So that's another one actually. So
Right.
So yeah, Peter Jackson.
Alrighty, yeah. I
What?
Go ahead, Mike.
No, go ahead, Ryan.
Oh, I was just gonna say. Recently, I've watched the extended versions of those 3, and they're really long, but man, they cover a lot of ground.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I've heard about the extended versions. I've just never seen them.
Yeah.
And I've never seen the Hobbit ones either, because the Hobbit in general, because I heard like it was just 3 movies, which have just been 1 movie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I've been like put off watching that trilogy. But
Yeah.
love Lord of the Rings. Love Lord of the Rings. Have you guys seen The Frighteners by Peter Jackson?
No, I haven't.
So it's Michael J. Fox movie, and it's Peter Jackson directed with Robert Zemeckis as executive producer.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Danny Elfman does the score in that movie,
Okay.
and it's the one film in Michael J. Fox's career where he did a sci-fi horror movie. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, I remember you
Ooh.
showing me the cover that I think you bought it or something. You're showing me, and they're coming with that to 4K this year, so I'm gonna have to check that out.
Right.
Yep, you showed me that.
Awesome
That's
movie.
sweet.
Wow.
Awesome movie.
I will definitely be adding that to the list. That sounds very interesting.
Yeah, I'm interested to watch it. I didn't know about it until you told me about it, Mike.
Good movie.
Yeah, I gotta check it out.
Some of the CG's a bit dated, but it's good. It's a fun movie.
Yeah.
So we got Jason here with the details of this event. We went out for
Okay.
18 months, and I asked her to marry me, and she said no. I wasn't spiritual enough for her, and she married a pastor a year later.
Interesting.
Wow.
Whoa.
Didn't
Jason,
have
I'm not
the.
going to lie, man. I was not expecting that.
Wow.
Me neither.
Interesting.
Wow.
Wow. Okay. To be honest, it sounds like you maybe got a lucky break if she married a pastor.
Yeah.
That's a great point, Mike.
I mean, if it's not a pastor she's marrying, it's going to be the Pope, I guess, in terms of spiritual people.
Yeah, what level was she looking for there, Jason? I don't think you should feel bad. That's really bizarre.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
Right. But sorry to hear that, man. Jeez, crazy.
Wow. We got Anthony A. Perez here. What's up, fellas?
What's up,
Just
man?
dropping by to leave some love in the comments. Have a good stream. Thanks, man.
Thanks, Perez.
Thanks for tuning in, man.
Welcome to the channel. All right, Ryan.
All right. So my my fourth honorable mention. So it is Robert Eggers. So he did The Northman,
Nice.
The Lighthouse, and The Witch.
Yeah, he's been popular lately, man. That's a good pick.
Yeah, and the thing is, an interesting story about The Witch is the first time that I went to go see that, it was kind of the first time that I just kind of learned that A24 existed, even though I was watching other movies from them in the past. And the first time I went to go see that in the theater, I went with my now wife and I went with my best friend. And when we went, we actually hated it at first. I wasn't really. It's taken me a lot over time to get more so into artsier movies. And I think A24 has really paved the way for me to get more so into artsier movies and get into deeper meaning in movies and think a little bit about the different meanings. And The Witch was just like one of those movies that I didn't really appreciate at the time when I went to go see it. We actually walked out and didn't finish the movie. And I think we pissed some people off in the theater too because we were like talking or something about how it sucked or something. I don't normally do that, but for whatever reason, I don't know. I was bad that night. And when I watched it a second time, I was very blown away about the set pieces for that movie. And that was kind of like my love for Anya Taylor-Joy. I've really had more of a love for her as time has gone on and her acting ability. And then as far as The Lighthouse, that movie I don't like as much as The Northman and The Witch. Personally, I would say that's my least favorite. But The Northman, that is my favorite movie this year. Like, it hasn't gone off the list at any point in time. And I think with that one, because it's as artsy as it is, a lot of people were kind of taken back by that movie because I think a lot of people thought it was going to be something where it was like really action packed at all times, and it was a different kind of movie and it was artsy. And a lot of people actually think that's an A24 movie, but A24 did not make that movie. So it's really interesting to when I went to the theaters to go see it, it seemed like people just didn't get it, and they seemed like they were bored. So,
Yeah, I can see why people would think that's an A24 movie.
Yeah,
it makes sense.
It's an artsy one.
Yeah, I had a couple friends who reached out to me after they had seen it, and they're like, "I didn't get this movie, but I feel like you would like it." Mm-hmm. And they were all telling me to go see it, and I it's in my top 10. It's a great movie.
It's one of my favorites. What about you, Mike?
All right. Yeah, I like The Northman. I went in, like when I was going to go into it, I was like, I'm not going to like this movie. But I actually walked out and I was like, wow, it was actually pretty good. The Witch, Ryan, I've only seen once in the cinema, like when you did. Mm-hmm. And I almost walked out as well.
Yeah.
And I just never revisited since. I was like, I don't want to put myself through that again. Mm-hmm. It sounds like I kind of need to because it gets better on reviewings from what you're saying.
Yeah, because for that one, I think what really like about that one, because I learned more about like how. So a lot of people don't know that when they built that set, they built it in Canada in the middle of nowhere in like a field, and they built this set from scratch. And all the events that they had in that film, it's just like it's watching a poor family just like have all these different tragedies that happen to them, and it's just the building up of the horror in that movie and the way it's shot, and just it just feels unsettling, like just watching this family have all this bad luck. And by the end, it's a crazy movie, no doubt about it. It's not going to be for everyone. And I know, Mike, you kind of have a love-hate relationship with A24, so
Right.
it just depends.
Yeah, I might need to check it out again. Lighthouse, meh. Good performances by all means.
I agree.
But
yeah,
a weird ass movie though. That
it is weird.
Yeah, talk about artsy. That's pinnacle of artsy right there.
It's super artsy.
Right. I think I'm slowly getting into artsy kind of movies, but I'm not at like Ryan level artsy movies yet. So I'm just like, nope, not yet. Nope.
Ryan got that A24 gateway drug. You're just cruising into this artsy movie thing, and I get that. Same thing happened to me.
Well, I think also there's kind of like a misconception with A24 too, because a lot of people think that they just do horror and like they just do these crazy ass horror movies. But if you look at their catalog, they have a lot of movies that are not horror movies, and they have, they're smaller movies, but a lot of their movies are very, they're lower as far as on the totem pole of, production, and, it depends on the movie, but they're just, they're not just always about horror. And I want more people to look at their catalog and see some of the smaller movies they have, because they have some movies that, they have some meaning, other than a horror movie.
Everything Everywhere All at Once right now is in my top 3 of the year for sure. So I agree. Definitely check it out. I think one of the issues is, though, at least the people I've talked to, it seems like they got a lot of attention from Hereditary getting big. So that's probably one of the reasons, I think, is the success of that film. I don't know. But
yeah, they have a ton of films that I've watched that are nowhere near like the level of something like a Hereditary or The Witch. And they're good films for what they are. Like Red Rocket, that's a prime example. That's not a horror movie. It's like it's a real life thing,
right.
So, it just depends on the viewer and, how willingly they're going to want to watch a smaller movie. And I think it just depends on the individual and what their intentions are, and then how they feel about watching smaller movies. Some people are not really into watching smaller movies that don't have like a big budget, and some people like more action, and it just depends on what people are willing to settle down and watch in the end.
I know the success of A24 gives me hope, though, because it seems like a lot of people are seeing their movies for, considering what you're saying, like they're smaller budget films, they're a little more artsy. So in the age of Marvel and DC, it's kind of nice, to have something like that.
No, I agree.
Yeah. I think A24 is kind of like making a bit of a mark on the scene, because, as you guys were saying, like lower budgets, they're using a lot of practical effects in all the movies, and not just terrible CG for like a lower budget studio would try to do that to save money.
That's true.
Right.
But yeah, like a couple of movies I like of A24 is in horrors is Lady Bird. I don't know if you guys seen that one.
Yep.
I really like that movie. The Disaster Artist from a couple of years ago.
Great movie.
Right. Yep.
Right. That's a fun one. And Green Room. I don't know if you guys have seen Green Room.
Great movie. Good one.
Good movie. I know that one's more of a horror, but
yeah. I gotta say, the only thing gripe that I have with them, and I've talked about this before, is their marketing is weird. Like they'll market certain movies, and then other movies will come out from them, and they don't market them at all. They don't put them in theaters. And recently, I watched a couple smaller ones that they came out with. I didn't even know they came out. I just went on their website and I was going through their stuff, and I watched them, and they were super small movies. I guess I can see why they didn't market them. They weren't as good as some of their other stuff, but they're just weird sometimes of how they market stuff and how they put certain things in theaters. Like,
well, The Whale coming up. That's another one.
Yeah.
You can't even see it online yet, or and it's coming pretty quick. I don't see any really marketing for it yet.
Yeah, it's December 9th it comes out. So
Yeah.
but
No, we've not had a trailer for that movie at all.
oh wow.
Yeah, I think maybe one's out now, and that might have just happened like a day ago. But I haven't seen anything. I mean, it's almost like they didn't really have to spend money on it because all the stuff about Brendan Fraser and the standing ovation at that festival and everything, I'm sure you guys saw, is like,
Right.
giving it some attention. But yeah, I agree, Ryan. It's sort of weird. I don't know. It seems like that could be a huge movie if they would just market it a little more. But
Yeah, there must be something they have where they can only spend X amount of budget and maybe they expect X amount of return.
Right.
But like no words, like a movie like X that did well, then they really marketed Pearl, and now when they make Maxine, they're gonna push that because they know they have that fan base already built in at that point.
Right.
So.
Right.
All right, I'll go to my second honorable mention here. It's Steven Spielberg. So
Okay.
yeah, I know that's the big one right there, but yeah, he's not on my top 5. I love his movies. I love a ton of his movies. Jurassic Park, Saving Private Ryan, to just name a couple. But like again, it's kind of like the same issue I have with the other ones is they're not super consistent. Like I like some of his movies just as much as I hate others, and it's kind of one of those directors too. I think sometimes when he's a little lower budget, I don't even know if that's the word, but like smaller scale, I like him more. Like I don't know if you guys have seen Minority Report with Tom Cruise.
It's been a while, but I have seen it.
Yeah, that's one like people don't really talk about, but I think it's probably one of his best movies, at least for me. I love that film, so it's just I don't know. Spielberg for me is amazing, and I love him just as much as everyone else, but I can't put him on that top 5. What about you, Mike?
He's on the list.
Okay.
And I'll get to the list when I get to it.
All right, fair.
But yeah, he's on there.
I was gonna say for me that actually was going to be my my honorable mention as well. And the films that I wrote down for him that I particularly like, I like West Side Story. That was one of my favorites last year. That musicals, it depends with me, but I really enjoyed that musical. I've never seen the original, so I went in very blind with the story, so I didn't know. I also like from him. Let's see, I wrote down Jaws is a great movie. I've seen that tons of times. Jurassic Park and Ready Player One is one of my top movies from him as well.
Wow.
So yeah, those are like the top ones that I like from him. I think a lot of his stuff, he has a lot of other films that I haven't watched. Like he's done the Indiana Jones movies. I have all the steel books for those. I just need to break into them and watch them at some point. Definitely going to watch them all before we get to the 5th movie. So
yeah, next year. That's right.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to checking that out and going through all those films. So yeah, I think he's kind of a big one. I think a lot of people would probably put them up on their list. He's a lot of notable films. So yeah, I definitely respect him as a director for sure.
Yeah.
Good pick.
Definitely. So what's your next one, Ryan?
So I think we're in the top 5 now because Spielberg was my last honorable mention, and then we're in the top 5 now.
Oh, I got one more honorable, and then we'll jump up to top 5.
I've got one more honorable actually.
Oh, nice.
Okay.
Cool, Mike. Go ahead.
And I've just thought this on because I've just written my list. For. So I would say an honorable for me is James Cameron.
Okay.
I know that might be a bit of a hot take because I know Harry's covered all of his filmography at the moment with his dad and these discussion videos.
Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't make top 5 for me, but I can appreciate like what he's done, and he's created legacies of movies. And not many directors can have a great movie, but it doesn't carry a legacy like 10 years down the line. Cameron, like Aliens, I haven't seen that one. I've seen the first one. Yeah,
you gotta watch that, Mike.
Right. Right. But yeah, like Terminator, Titanic, Avatar. That's just 3 movies that people still talk about now. So I can appreciate what he's done.
That's fair. Yeah.
All right.
Well, he's in my top 5, but we'll talk more about that. But that's fair. So my last honorable mention is the Safdie brothers. They did well, I actually have them. Yeah, here we go. They did the A24 film Uncut Gems.
Awesome movie.
Ooh, okay.
Amazing movie. And then they also did Good Time.
I like the movie.
I have this one too. Yeah. Good Time. Pattinson. And this is the movie that convinced me he'd make a good Batman. And they were right. So yeah, I think they're up and coming. The only reason they didn't make it to my top 5 is because they just haven't made enough movies yet. So, it's not really fair. But Uncut Gems I've probably watched like 20 times, even though it's gives you anxiety and makes you scared about life. But I love that movie. And then Good Time, same thing. It gives you like a bad feeling, but I've probably seen that 5 or 6 times because I just love their movies. They're great. So,
yeah, good time for me, Harry. Kind of the same. Like I saw Robert Pattinson, and that was the first movie I saw of his since like Twilight back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Because first when none else Pattinson, I was like, really, him as Batman? When I saw Good Time, I was like, wow, this dude can act.
Yeah, man. He shows some, we'll just call it range, I guess, because he's a total piece of crap in that movie. It's like, wow. I had the same reaction. I saw it after they announced him being Batman. Same thing with me, as I was amazed.
Right.
Yeah, I've actually haven't seen Good Time. I've heard a lot of good things.
Yeah, check it out. Definitely.
I definitely need to.
Yeah. Before we jump into the top 5 here, we have Jason saying, we get a continuation here. Well, her dad was a pastor, so there was a lot of pressure there. No, I'm glad I didn't marry her. Yeah, good for you,
That's
Jason.
good, man.
Definitely.
As long as you feel good about it.
Yeah, definitely.
And then we have Dylan in here saying, I took my first date to Jason Bourne. Let's just say there was no kissing.
Dang, man.
That is epic.
Oh, man.
That's the best comment.
That's funny. Funny.
Okay. Gemini would be my honorable mention only because there were two Will Smith. There were the two Will Smiths.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a good one. I forgot about that movie.
Yeah, that was all right.
I wasn't a big fan of it.
Yeah, I thought it was okay too. But I know Dylan's like massive fan of Will Smith, so we can't say that.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Loves Will Smith.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Well, we've arrived at our top 5 picks for favorite director of all time. I don't know who wants to go first. Either one of you guys.
Mike, you want to start off since we've been kind of stealing the thunder with all our honorable mentions?
Yeah, sure. I'll go first.
Right.
So before I mention any of these 5, by the way, I just want to say, Harry, that I can never honestly say that I've ever had a favorite director.
Okay.
For me, I'm kind of a guy that I'll be like, oh, I love that movie. Who was that movie by?
Mm-hmm.
Fair, yeah.
Oh, right. I love the movie kind of thing. So when you asked me to go for this list, I was like, well, who's my favorite directors? I don't even know. So I had to sit down and think. So I've managed to come up with 5 though. So number 5 is a joint one. And that is James Wan and Lee Winnell.
Okay. Nice.
And that's purely because one of the kind of first horror movies that like got me into horror was Saw.
Okay.
And that first Saw movie, which I just ordered on 4K last night as well, so I'm hoping it's going to come in a couple of days. That first Saw movie, I mean, obviously it started like a legacy, really. But obviously Lee Winnell was like part of the director in there, and he's helped to do like some screenplays of like Insidious, for example, the Conjuring movies.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which, I mean, it's just like those 3 franchises alone in horror are massive. And it's just like, I just admire like how they've created that from like nothing and just created like 3 legacies and franchises really and still going.
Yeah, that's a great pick.
That's my number 5.
Nice. That's a great pick. James Wan, did he do Aquaman too, right?
He did.
Yeah, so
he helped produce. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I just feel like he can make anything. I mean, it's a hell of a horror filmography. Then he goes and makes Aquaman, and I was like, holy crap, he's great. Yeah, that's a good one.
He also did Mike's favorite movie, *Malignant*.
Did he do *Malignant*?
I'll give him a pass on that one.
Oh shoot!
I know how he feels about that one.
Do not like that movie at all. As Ryan would say, that would be in the Walmart bin forever. That one, or as a coaster.
yeah. I understand.
It was during that weird time in COVID where like all the movies were coming out and streaming, and half of them were terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, it's just like with *Malignant*. I'm not going to go on a massive tangent here, otherwise I'd be here for 2 hours myself. But it's just like, I thought *Malignant*, it had a solid start, and I was like, right, I'm into this movie. First 15 minutes, I was sold on this movie. And then it starts getting wacky, and in that police scene, I was like, I'm gone. Bye. See you later. Nah. That police CG was awful. That was like PS2 graphics awful. I was like, damn, that's bad.
And it's weird because like Insidious didn't have a big budget, right? But they made it really creepy, the first one. So
oh man, so like Insidious, one of the best jump scares is that dinner table scene.
Yeah.
I did not expect that at all, and I wish horror movies would do. And this was kind of my biggest complaint with a lot of horror movies nowadays, is I wish they would do scares that aren't jump scares.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And like purposely have it where they're not focused on character, be like, oh, they opened the fridge, someone's gonna be stood behind there when they close that.
Right.
And I think I didn't say scene just executed brilliantly because he didn't expect that demon to be stood right next to him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, James Wan in general does a really good job with that. Like the Conjuring movies don't really have a lot of jump scares, and if they do jump scare you, it's actually something that should scare you, right? It's not like an animal darting out or a loud sound somewhere, you know?
Right. One last thing I want to mention about Lee Winnell as well, and also another reason why I chose him, is because he also did a movie a couple of years ago called Upgrade. I don't know if you guys have seen that.
I've heard of it. I haven't seen it.
Awesome movie. I think you guys would really dig that one. He did that movie as well. That's definitely one of my favorites.
I'll have to check it out.
Yeah.
Cool.
So how about you, Ryan?
All right. This one may not be a surprise to you, but we got Ari Aster. He did *Midsummer* and *Hereditary*. I think you can kind of expect that from me since I got the poster.
I figured. Yeah, that's a great pick.
Yeah, I know he doesn't have a big filmography, but as far as horror goes, I remember when I saw *Midsummer* the first time in theaters, and just like the audience reaction listening to that movie, because it was in a small theater. So I heard everybody's comments, and just like the scenes, and like have you guys have both seen it, right?
Right.
So like the scene where the most is like craziest scene is the scene where the guy is having sex with the woman, and like all the ladies, the older ladies are surrounded them and stuff like that. That is such a messed up scene. It's just a crazy scene. And just the performances in that movie, Florence Pugh, I mean, she is one of my favorite actresses, like since that whole movie. I mean, anything that she's in, I'm going to go see. Her and like Anya Taylor-Joy, like anything they're in, I'm going to go watch it. And I have the extended cut of that movie, *Midsummer*. It's probably one of the only movies that I actually own twice on physical media. And I have the extended cut, and I have the regular Blu-ray with the regular version as well. And it's just, the movie itself is just, it's mind-blowing, like the things that you pick up on in that movie. I've kind of talked about it before, where if you remember the scene where they're at the dinner table, you can actually see like the trees like moving, and it looks like they're literally high at the dinner table. The way that they put that kind of detail in the movie is just, I mean, it's something that I didn't notice on a first watch, but after you really watch it and just see like what the director did and some of the just like the hints that he put in that movie, it's just crazy. And I think my love for like cult movies has really kind of gone up since that movie came out. Just like a visually really good movie as well. So I always go back to that, and it's one of my favorite horror movies probably ever. So no, it's not for everybody though.
You're right.
Yeah, I loved it. I think that's a great pick. I almost feel like he's gonna end up making a subgenre of horror that only he lives in for a while, because it's just so influential. It's just shaking up the entire genre. Like, I mean, when I saw Midsummer and then when I saw Hereditary, it was like it blew my mind. I was like, I'd never seen anything like this before, personally.
Yeah, and even in Hereditary, when you watch that movie, it's probably like the most damnest, like depressing freaking movie you can watch.
Yes.
But like the shit that happens to that family, I mean, it's crazy. And even like the ending, I mean, I won't give it away because people haven't watched it, but like the ending, it just sticks with you. And I'm really looking forward to his next film. He's making a film called Disappointment Boulevard. So I think that comes out next year, I believe. I don't know what it's about, but I know it's a movie that he's making. So I'm looking forward to watching that next. So yeah, those two movies right there, they're iconic movies right there for me.
Awesome picks.
Nice.
Yeah, I guess I'll jump into my number 5. My number 5 is M. Night Shyamalan. He just had such an impact on me. Pretty much all the movies here are the ones that were influential to me, and I got this on eBay. I don't think they even sell this in the US, but it's such a cool set. Signs for me, when I saw that for the first time, I knew I saw something really special, and it got me much more into film just because of the way. I don't think I'd ever seen a movie at that time have such a simple premise and then throw in something like Aliens and do it in such a grounded and really cool way where you don't really see aliens maybe 2 times in the whole film, and one of the times it's just a silhouette or something. So I don't know. I love Signs, and the way he kind of brought everything together and was able to take Mel Gibson's character and make that arc more important than the premise of the film at the time. I don't know how to explain it, but everything he did was so masterful to me, and I've probably watched that movie, I don't know, since I saw it for the first time, at least once a year since then. And then The Sixth Sense for me too. It's just amazing. Everyone, loves that movie. But Signs was always a little more influential for me at the time. I saw it when I was really young. It just totally blew my mind. And then lately, Split came out and did the same thing to me again. I love Split. So that, I just, for me, he's number 5 only because I think we all know he's had some doozies. Last Airbender, The Happening, some really bad movies. But yeah, so yeah, that's my number 5.
Yeah, as far as like M. Night Shyamalan, I think I'm in that love-hate category for him. Signs is a great movie. I've always loved Signs. I've never seen Unbreakable, and I've never seen Sixth Sense. It's on my list. The Happening, I am probably one of the most minority people that like that movie.
What? Right? No.
A lot of people give me shit for liking that movie, but I like it. I would say The Visit wasn't very good with him. I wasn't a big fan of that.
No.
I'm trying to think what else. I liked Old. A lot of people didn't like Old.
Yeah, I wasn't a huge fan of Old.
Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah.
I'm trying to think what else he's done. I'm really excited to see Knock at the Cabin next year. I'm really hoping that's a good movie.
Same.
So that comes out in February. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah. He's had some doozies, but same thing with the other guys. When he makes a really good movie, it's like crazy.
So recently I watched from him The Village and Lady in the Water. What do you think about those films?
I really don't like either one, to be honest.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
not a big fan.
especially when you go in knowing he's the director. I think that's what happens a little bit too. Like you wish all his movies would be at the same level as the ones you love that he's made. But he's not consistent. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah. I've hardly seen, because when I was looking away, I've just pulled up his filmography. I've hardly seen any of his movies.
Oh man.
Oh, wow.
I've seen, so the ones I've seen The Visit, which I actually quite liked.
Okay.
I've seen Split, which I didn't quite like.
Same. I wasn't a fan.
And I've seen Glass. That was okay.
Okay.
That's all I've seen. So I've not seen The Happening. I've not seen Signs, Sixth Sense.
Dang.
None of those.
Wow.
So I'm missing out by the sounds of it.
Well, Mike, I'm
like
jealous.
It
What's
sounds
that?
like Harry. You need to get a collab going with Mike on a M.
Yeah.
Night Shyamalan movie.
We do, Mike. Come on, man. I'm jealous of you. I'm jealous that you'll be able to watch Signs for the first time.
I know. Honestly, it's just like, I mean, that's probably one of another reasons why I don't have like a favorite director, because it's just like sometimes I look through the list, like say Ridley Scott, and I'm like, I've only seen a couple of his movies, and then that's it, you know. So I'm like, oh man, so I'm missing out on, again, like Gladiator. I've never seen it. I'm missing out from what I've heard, you know. So
yeah.
Hey, no worries, man. You have a bunch of epic experiences waiting for you that we've all already blown, basically.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah. I was gonna say, as I always say, there's only 100 years of film.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Not much. I think it's bad when I've seen more Asylum movies and M. Night Shyamalan's filmography.
I was just saying, we don't have any Asylum directors and Best Directors?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
So we got Jason here listing his number 4. He says John Ford. Some of his movies: The Searchers, Mr. Roberts, The Quiet Man, The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance, and Fort Apache.
So I've only seen The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance.
I've literally seen none of those.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Same here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a little research.
Right. Yeah, never heard of him.
Did you like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance?
It was okay. It was kind of slow. I'm not a big Western person. So
Jason likes a slow movie?
It's a slower movie. I think it's like, I want to say it's like 2.5 hours when I watched it. Well, I'm trying to think how long it was. Let me see. It was,
okay.
Let me see. No, okay. It was a 2-hour movie. Okay. Yeah, it's got like a 94% on Rotten Tomatoes. It was kind of slow for me. It definitely has a lot of political type things going on back in those times. And, you know, it's hard to identify with political stuff that you weren't really a part of back then. And I don't know, it's a little bit different, I guess. And it's a black and white movie, which I don't care. I don't mind watching a black and white movie, but I don't know. I think like James Stewart, he's made movies that I've really liked, and then he's made some other movies I'm kind of like, I'm good on that. So
that's fair.
Yeah. And Jason
didn't
said,
find
I
it
didn't
slow.
find it slow. So yeah.
Wow.
All right.
That's a rarity for Jason.
All right. Cool.
Just messing.
Well, Mike, what's your number 4, man?
So number 4 for me is Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
So I went back and looked at his filmography. Now I've never seen Jaws, so again I can't.
Oh my gosh.
Right. Now the thing is, right, by the way, I've had suggestions before being like, Mike, why don't you do like a first time watch, like reactions to these movies?
Yeah.
And I've said, well, all you'd see is me sat like this for like 2 hours. And I'd be like, no one wants to see that. Everyone wants to see you talking for it. And I'm like, I don't like talking when there's a movie on.
Right. Yeah.
So I've never seen Jaws, but for example, like some movies I have seen of Spielberg's, which I think is kind of underrated, is Catch Me If You Can.
Okay.
DiCaprio and Tom Hanks, great movie.
That's a great movie. Yeah.
Right. And also The Terminal with Tom Hanks. when he's stuck in the terminal, when he's like his country's going through like a war or something, and the arsehole director in the terminal's like, we're not sending you home. So he's trying to raise. So literally, part of the movie is like he's trying to raise money, putting these trolleys in just to pay for a Burger King in the hotel. Sorry, in the airport. And I'm just like, I found that it's just so fascinating. I was like, oh, I want to see his next Burger King meal. What's he gonna get next?
Those are great movies.
But no, like honestly, I think it's just a really sweet movie. And of course, like West Side Story, I like that he did a first take on a musical last year, like Ryan said. I've never seen the originals, and I really like the new one. And of course, he's just made like memorable franchises again, like Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones, and stuff. So yeah, Spielberg's number 4.
Great pick.
Those are great picks. I find it interesting that the first 2 movies you listed are 2 of his, I guess, smaller concept movies, right? Because I tend to like the same thing from him, so I just find that interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't seen
them. Yeah, I think it's for me. It's like when again, because I've never been so focused on any director ever. It's just like I've been like, oh, I love that movie. Who directs that movie, kind of thing.
Right.
I remember when I was younger, I saw The Terminal for the first time, and I loved that movie. It was so good. And then I just like rewatched it quite a few times. I haven't really watched it in years, but yeah. I tend to find like a lot of these directors, I like some of their like smaller works more. Because they tend to go like I said, like when we were talking about Peter Jackson earlier, a lot of people don't know about The Frighteners, and I love that movie. So yeah, I'm interested in your guys' number 4 anyway.
Yeah, totally agree. How about you, Ryan?
My number 4, or just like him in general?
Oh, whichever. I would say your number 4. Or, yeah.
Okay. All right. Let me see. I had. Where is it at? So my number 4 was James Wan. And for me, as far as movies that I liked from him, I know Mike hates it, but Malignant. The Conjuring movies, they're great. Insidious, I love the Insidious series. I love all those movies. He made a horror movie called Dead Silence, which is really good.
I'll have to seek that one up.
Yeah, that one is made, I think it was in 2007, I believe. Yeah, 2007. And he made Fast and Furious 7, which was...
Well...
and Aquaman. So that's what I had written down for him. So yeah, I mean,
nice.
We kind of talked and touched about him already, but I think he does really well when he does horror. That's what I pretty much know him for. So I think he's the master of it.
Right.
Yeah, totally agree. He's a great director. I don't know why I didn't even think of him when I was making this list, but he has a great picks.
Well, it's interesting because was like Mike said when he was talking about how he was going to make his list. I only know probably a few directors offhand myself, and I had to go through my movies. I had on my shelf and 3 different ones, and I'm like, okay, so who directed this movie? Because some of them I can remember, but others I'm like, I don't know who directed these. And like I said, a lot of the movies that I like, it's usually a director where I've only seen maybe a couple of their movies, kind of like Mike said, or I only like a movie or 2. So I tried to pick directors where I like multiple movies from them, and they're, movies that are my favorites, I guess you could say. So yeah, that's why James Wan is number 4.
Fair. Yeah, I'll just jump to my number 4 here. It's someone you all know, and it's not probably very surprising, but Quentin Tarantino. He's my number 4. The movie in particular, which is kind of unpopular, I think, but for me, is The Hateful Eight. This is probably out of all his movies, and I've seen all of them besides the 2 Kill Bills and Death Proof. But out of all those movies, The Hateful Eight is my favorite, and I have a little story to go with why. When I was in high school, like 14, I wasn't super into film yet, and so I was exploring like basically I was exploring a new neighborhood and I found out that they had a family video still, which I couldn't believe. I was super excited, like, hey, I'm gonna go rent a movie like I used to when I was a kid, you know? So I remember just by myself for whatever reason walking down there and looking through the movies, no idea what to get. And I saw The Hateful Eight sitting there, and I thought, hey, I heard Tarantino's a big name. I probably like it. And I'll never forget, I went up to my room, put it in my PlayStation. For whatever reason, it just sticks with you like something like this. I remember just watching it, and despite it being super long, and for not being super in the film, you'd think that would be kind of a turnoff that most of its dialogue, it's one setting. It just blew my mind how, like, it's one setting, the dialogue is extremely intriguing, and the time flew. It felt like I watched a half-hour movie. I just had never heard anything like it for me. And so that was a huge moment for me to just be super interested in film all of a sudden. So I have Quentin Tarantino to thank for that, and I love his other films too. So he's my number 4. Yeah.
Trying to think I really
Nice.
like him. This is pretty bad, man. But I haven't really. I don't know if I've watched any movies from him.
What? You can't make fun of Mike anymore.
I think the only movie that I've watched from him is okay. I've watched 2 of his movies. I've watched Sin City, and I've watched the Django Unchained, and I have Inglourious Bastards, but I've never watched it. I have it on 4K, but I've never watched it yet. And I've always wanted to watch Once Upon a Time. That's on my list, and the rest of his movies I've never watched. So pretty bad on my end.
Yikes, man.
It's bad, I know.
Okay, yeah. Well, to be fair, Ryan, I'm not much better. I would say within the last year and a half, I've seen a couple of his movies for like the first time and ever. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen Death Proof, which I didn't like that movie. I've seen the 2 Kill Bills, which the first one's okay, the second one's I didn't like at all, really.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen Django, which I liked. Django Unchained, that's good.
That was good.
And I've seen Reservoir Dogs, which I liked. That was probably my favorite Reservoir Dogs, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, that might be my second favorite of his too. I love Reservoir Dogs, so
yeah.
Yeah.
Good movie. But I think for me, it's like I've never really ever got on this Tarantino train.
Yeah.
And I kind of have like someone's like, oh, you know, you should check out his filmography. I'm just kind of like never had that urge to to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
That's fair.
But I mean, I will get to them. Don't get us wrong, but I just haven't got that urgency to do it. You know.
Right.
You definitely should. I will say I've never heard dialogue like Tarantino dialogue. You know, he can have 2 people sitting in a room talking for an hour, and I'd probably love that movie. You know, it's just, and that's basically what he does. I mean, it's just masterful writing, and he writes and directs all his movies as well. So it's kind of cool because it feels like all his movies are like passion projects. So I definitely think you should check them out. They're just a good time.
Yeah, Inglourious and Pulp Fiction's definitely on my list top to like check out his next, you know?
Yeah.
2 good
Definitely
ones.
need to watch those too.
Mm.
I know. Sorry, we're bad co-hosts here. We don't know any of these movies.
Yeah.
No, you're good, man. I don't know all the horror ones either, so it's okay.
Right.
But anyway, Mike, what's your number 3?
Yeah. So number 3 for me is Christopher Nolan.
Okay.
Nice.
And again, it's a bit like you guys. Well, it's a bit like Ryan. I'm not sure for yourself, Harry, but you know, when I'm going through this list, I looked through pulled up a list of directors, checked all their filmographies, and I was like, right, well, I like more movies of this person. They're probably more of a favorite director.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, you know, Nolan, as I said many times, I'm always DC over Marvel.
Yep.
And I think a big testament to that is the Dark Knight trilogy, which I really got into. And being honest, over the last couple of years, so I saw Batman Begins originally back in the cinema, and I fell asleep back then in that movie. I watched The Dark Knight a couple of times in the cinema. I love that movie. And then Dark Knight Rises, when I first saw that, I didn't really like that movie at all. So years later, got the box set as well, watched them over again. And Batman Begins like really changed my perspective on that movie. For me, that one's probably my favorite than The Dark Knight.
Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's just that trilogy. It's just like, even now you can watch it, and I just think it's so masterfully done, and it's a serious, like, grounded take on a superhero movie, which I think that's why I prefer DC. That's what I like.
Right.
It's like if I watch anime, for example, it's like I prefer like more serious tone anime like movies than like goofy, like, you know, firing fireballs at each other and stuff like that, you know.
Right.
So yeah, like Christopher Nolan. Then obviously Inception was I saw for the first time last year.
Yep.
When, you know, COVID was opening back up in the cinemas, Inception was on. I was like, I've never seen this movie. I'll check it out.
Right.
Awesome movie, Inception.
Great movie.
And then some of his other works I'm not huge on. Like, I'm not huge on Interstellar. I remember when I watched that in the cinema. Wasn't really huge on Tenet either, being honest.
I didn't like Tenet either.
Nah. So I think he hit like a peak. And then I'm just hoping Oppenheimer kind of brings him back to that peak. But I can't really knock him for the Dark Knight trilogy. It's one of my, like, it's my favorite superhero movie ever. So yeah, I had to go Nolan.
Yeah, I was gonna say to piggyback off that was actually my number 3 as well, Christopher Nolan. And
Wow.
Oh wow.
the only difference between Mike is I liked Interstellar, even though he didn't like Interstellar. But I agree, I didn't like Tenet. I love the Dark Knight trilogy. Inception is an awesome movie. That's definitely one I need to own that one. I don't have that one, but yeah, I think he has a way of definitely capturing some really good movies. You know, he's had some misses here or there, but I think for the most part he's pretty consistent. I'm just hoping this new movie he has, you know, I hope it hits the mark. I hope it's not like a Tenet, because I felt like Tenet could have been a bigger movie than it was, but because it was released when it was, and I think it was one of the worst movies to start off with having kind of during a COVID period, because it was a very complex movie. I think during that time, people didn't want a complex movie. I think they would have rather have gone to a theater and had maybe like a comedy or something that was a little bit more not so complex in the story aspect. And I felt Tenet was very complex, and it didn't really garnish very good reviews. So I just think that was a miss for him in general. And I mean, who knows if they would have released that at a different time, it could have been more successful. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I thought at the time it came out, I was like, people just want an escape. you know? Yeah, it was a bit too much. But I'm curious to see. I don't know are you guys excited for Oppenheimer coming out next year?
I'm intrigued by it. I mean, they just have that teaser trailer that they've shown so far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same. Yeah, I'm intrigued. I'm sick of seeing the teaser trailer though, because it's on every time to the cinema. And of course, it doesn't show anything. So it's like, how can I get excited when you don't show anything in that trailer apart from a countdown timer?
Right.
And then I'm like, like I wish it showed even like a snippet, like a really cool scene. I know at that point you might think, I've seen that now. That seems to be a bit redundant, but yeah, I'm intrigued to see what he's going to do next. But I think with Nolan, I really like that he just uses a lot of practical effects again. He doesn't rely on like the Dark Knight trilogy. I don't recall like any bad CG in that movie.
Mm-hmm.
In the movies, sorry, should I say?
No.
Like even when he destroys the bloody baseball stadium, like how that's done is incredible in Dark Knight Rises. So good.
Yep.
Yeah, no, totally agree. It holds up well because of that. I mean, I watched them recently. And I'm like, holy crap, this looks great.
Right.
Fun fact, by the way, Rises was filmed in my, at least parts of it were filmed in my hometown of Pittsburgh. So that was pretty cool. So the stadium there is Heinz Field, which is pretty close to me. So it's pretty cool.
Nice. That's great.
That's cool.
Yeah, I remember it was really hard to drive around because they had taken up downtown and they were using like snow machines and different machines to create weather for different scenes and everything, and it was all
Oh,
blocked
interesting.
off. It was crazy at the time it was being filmed.
Wow.
So
Wow.
yeah, it was pretty
And does that stadium have like a plaque saying like the Dark Knight Rises was shot here or anything? Or
No, and I've been there since. I'm actually surprised. Like you'd think they would kind of like want to rep that, especially because I'm pretty sure the Steelers were shown in that movie for a part of it.
I think they were. Yeah. The coach was
Okay,
Tomlin.
yeah.
Yeah.
So you would think they would kind of have something. Maybe they do. I don't know about it, but
That's
I don't know.
weird that they don't have anything to represent that.
yeah.
right?
But yeah, great picks, guys. It may or may not be on my list, so I'll just my number 3 is Mel Gibson. For me,
Wow.
he's one of those guys who doesn't have a lot of movies that he's directed. He's acted in a lot of movies, but
Yes.
the ones he's directed,
Right.
I just think I have a couple sitting here. Or the biggest one that I think super underrated. So if anyone hasn't seen this movie, go watch it. Is Apocalypto. Have you guys seen this movie?
I have not.
That, my friend, is a fantastic movie.
Yes, Mike.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, Ryan.
It is.
So,
I gotta
I
watch
think
it.
way ahead of its time when it came out.
It holds up beautifully. It is
Right.
fantastic.
Right.
I'm with you. Like no one talks about this movie, but yeah.
I agree. I think it was ahead of its time.
Yes.
Definitely.
And it kind of follows a theme of why I love all Mel Gibson's movies, because they all have that aspect to them, almost like a Clint Eastwood, where they're hard to watch, but they have like a huge payoff. They're super emotional. They really get to you. They're just powerful. I don't know what other word to use other than powerful. And they always have some type of like profound effect on me, like not only Apocalypto, but Hacksaw Ridge, Braveheart. I mean, those are like Hacksaw Ridge is probably one of my favorite war movies, and then Braveheart's probably one of my favorite of all time. So has to be Mel Gibson.
So looking at his filmography, Hacksaw Ridge, I've seen that. I have the Steelbook. That's a great movie. I just watched that this year.
Yeah.
Great movie. The Passion of the Christ, I've seen.
Yep.
And
Great movie.
that was a very good movie. And apparently he's directing a sequel to that. It says on here he's making The Passion of the Christ Resurrection.
Oh, wow.
2024, it says.
Oh.
Wow, did not
Okay.
know that. Wow.
Yeah, so he's making that. And then Braveheart I own, but I haven't watched yet. So those are I've only seen 2 of his films.
Well, set 3 hours aside and enjoy Braveheart, man.
Yeah, I've heard really good things. I think Jason really likes that movie. I think he was saying he wanted to hear my thoughts on that one.
Cool.
Yeah, I'd never even thought of Mel Gibson as a director.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he hasn't done many movies, right? You know, I think the only reason it came to me was I was looking at my shelf and I'm like, oh, this is a great movie. This is a great, like I hit Apocalypto and then I saw Braveheart and I was like, oh, you know, he did both of these, and Hacksaw Ridge, he has to be on there. So
But
It
man,
also says, I was gonna say, sorry to interrupt, Mike. It also says he's gonna be doing a Lethal Weapon 5.
oh,
I heard about that.
Yeah. So
interesting.
yeah, it's interesting. Some of the movies. I'm wondering also because the last movie he directed, it's been since 2016 since he directed a movie, which was Hacksaw Ridge. So I think mainly the reason why he kind of has set back is didn't he have some like alcohol issues or something?
I heard that. To be honest, there's so many rumors about him
Yeah.
though that I'm never sure what to believe.
Right.
I just don't
Yeah.
know, you know. But yeah,
right.
maybe.
Sure.
What were you gonna say, Mike? Were you saying something?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, he hasn't directed many movies, but it's amazing how the movies he has directed are all memorable movies.
It's true.
Yeah. No, it's so
Crazy.
true.
Because a lot of actors turned directors usually don't do a good job a lot of the time. So it's crazy how he's took it and he's done like many movies that we've just mentioned, you know. So yeah, good pick.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, they all have a lot of heart.
Yeah, I agree.
Right.
Jason says Braveheart is one of my favorite movies.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I remember him mentioning that.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I don't know how you beat Braveheart. I really don't. And then he gave his number 3, William Wyler. directed Ben-Hur, Best Years of Our Lives, Mrs. Miniver, Roman Holiday, and The Westerner.
Okay.
I've seen Ben-Hur. I like Ben-Hur.
I haven't seen any of those.
Same.
You got some unique picks, Jason. I'm gonna have to dig into them.
It does. Sorry, we're letting you down, Jason.
Yeah, we don't got much to say about them.
Right.
So, Mike, what's your number 2?
Yeah, you might be a bit surprised at this one. But my number 2 is Robert Zemeckis.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
Now, I can't say number 1 just simply because you guys all know my favorite movie. I think everyone watching probably knows my favorite movie. But when it comes down to like a director, again, it's one of those where I think, right, who's the most consistent? Who do I like most of their movies from? And don't get me wrong, like Zemeckis, obviously Back to the Future is the main one, the trilogy. Then you've got like Flight, Castaway, Forrest Gump that was mentioned in the comments earlier.
Yeah.
And I like those movies, but out of the lot of them, obviously I'd go back to the Future the most. And I haven't really gone back to any of the others. So yeah, like Zemeckis, and again, like because of Back to the Future, I was like, I can't really not have him on this list.
Right.
But again, obviously Spielberg helped to executive produce that movie. So kind of collaboration with them. So yeah, Zemeckis is number 2.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm very surprised by that, but it makes sense. I mean, yeah, I guess consistency is where it gets them. That's what happened to me with this list too.
Right.
Yeah, great pick.
As I say, it's just because like you guys know I love Back to the Future. That's my favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
And he did the trilogy, but it's just like that's more. I was thinking, is that because it's more so my favorite movie, or he's my favorite director?
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, because it's favorite director, I was like, not really. I was like, if it was movie, it'd be hands down no contest.
Right.
But yeah, so he's my number 2.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think this is one of the first directors that I've seen quite a bit of movies from that we've picked. I looked at what he's done. So Back to the Future, I've seen all of them except for 3. That's the only one I haven't seen. I haven't seen the third one. See, he's got Forrest Gump in here I've seen, which is a great movie. It's one of my favorite movies. Castaway is a really good one. But then he's done Beowulf, which I wasn't a big fan of. He's done A Christmas Carol. I'm not a big fan of that movie.
Never seen.
He's done The Polar Express, which is kind of
never seen.
Flight was all right, and the rest I haven't seen. And then I'm interested to see what he does with the new Pinocchio, since he's got that coming up.
Is that did he do the Disney Plus one, or would...
No, this is the one that's going to Netflix, I believe, isn't it?
Oh, okay.
I think Zemeckis did the Disney ones just come out, and I think it's Guillermo del Toro
Okay,
doing
that's what it was.
the Netflix one, I think. I might be wrong.
No, you're right.
Oh, okay.
I got those confused because they're all coming out at the same time. So yeah, you're right. That was the one from Disney Plus.
And this is for Jason. Okay, if you're still here, I watched Pinocchio, the Robert Zemeckis new one, because you told me to watch it, and I really liked it. I don't know. I'm with you. I'm with you, Jason. It was good. I didn't have an issue. I will say it's not as good as the original, but it didn't deserve the hate. I enjoyed it. So
I haven't watched it yet.
Yeah.
Same. Well, Harry, I think you've just gained a subscriber.
Yeah, I think you're right.
He was putting up a fight when he was on the Z Talks for that.
Yeah, and I walked away. I told him I'd watch it, so I watched it. And yeah, I liked it. Oh,
Okay.
Jason says that makes me happy. I'm glad, man.
I'm going to check it out because I've said this before, but I've never seen any rendition of Pinocchio. So I kind of want to watch the new one to be like my first one and then go back and watch the original. But there's so many renditions of that movie. It's like, how many times can they make the same story?
Right.
And like 3 this year, there was like a Russian or Italian one, and then this Disney one, and the Netflix one. And like, God.
Yeah, I don't know what's up with that.
Yeah, I've never heard anybody say since that new one came out that they hated or didn't like the original Pinocchio compared to the new one. That's a first.
Wow.
I don't know. I think our mission coming in next year, Mike, is I think that we need to get you to see some more Disney animated movies, and I think you guys need to get me to watch all the Star Wars movies since I haven't seen them.
Yes.
Oh, dude, definitely. I mean, like, I'd honestly, I'd have to have a look through like all the Disney classics catalog,
Mhm.
and I could probably maybe pick out a maximum of probably 5 titles, if that.
That you've seen.
And that's
Wow.
bad.
So,
dude, what did you watch as a kid?
I'm just curious, which animated ones? How do you know for sure that you've probably seen off the top of your head, if you can think of any?
I'd honestly have to have a look.
I gotcha. Okay. Yeah, it's a big list. I understand.
Oh, man, yeah, like I don't know. I think it's just because, like, as a kid, being honest with you, it's like it's not to say like my mom or anything or my dad didn't want to show me those movies.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more so like you guys probably know yourself. When you're a kid, you're so used to watching a movie, then you might be like, "Oh, I loved it. Put on again, kind of thing."
Right.
And that was me for like Toy Story, The Incredibles.
Okay.
So I watched a lot more Pixar, I guess, growing up than like the classics.
Okay.
That's fair.
So I think it's because like, as fallen into adulthood, I've just never seen the classics. I've been like, why do I want to watch the 1930s classic for? Do you know what I mean? But obviously that was before I kind of started YouTube and having this more mindset about movies, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So,
Yeah. See.
yeah.
I had to watch. I watched a lot of Disney animation when I was growing up. Probably my first like Disney animation was Lion King and Aladdin, and I would say out of the Disney animation, probably one of my least favorites that a lot of people like is probably Cinderella. I've never been like a huge fan of Cinderella for some reason.
Yeah, same. She's kind of vanilla, I guess, compared to
Yeah.
especially the other movies.
I feel like all the other princesses are a little bit. I don't know. I mean, I feel like her story is just kind of. I don't know if it's like generic or how I want to put it, but I don't know. I feel like some of the other stories of the princesses are a little bit more. I don't know. Like Snow White has got an interesting story, you know, with the 7 little men and.
What about Belle? And Beauty and the Beast. I mean,
I have to say, out of all the Disney live action movies, I think Beauty and the Beast is one of the best ones. And I know some people will probably say, you don't know what you're talking about there. But I really love Emma Watson in that role. I think she was really good for that role.
I agree, man. I loved the live action. And I liked Aladdin, too. So,
yeah,
I like both of them. Yeah.
Yeah, I think Will Smith is probably like the best fit as far as like the genie that you were probably going to get for that. Like, looking back on them remaking that movie, I can't honestly think of another genie they could have had.
Yeah, man, he was great. You can't replace Robin Williams, so he gave it his own flair, and I thought it was great. And then those were the only 2 films, I think, out of all these live actions, right? Like Beauty and the Beast especially, that added songs rather than taking songs away.
Right.
Like, and the songs they added, like, I think Evermore was a new one. I loved that new song. Josh Groban sang it, and it was just, I don't know. I thought it added something to the movie rather than like Lion King, where half the songs are gone. Like, why does that exist?
Yeah, you know? and I really like Lion King, but I feel like it's a copy and paste, really, that movie. You know, no, there wasn't really much flair to it or style to it. It just kind of was like, all right, we're gonna do this movie and just kind of remake it shot for shot, and it's just like, I mean, I get it, you want to stick to the true material, but I mean, add some saw to it, you know what I mean?
Right. And then they went shot for shot, except for the shots that had the cool songs in it. So it's like, yeah, I don't know.
Mike's getting something from his chef. What's he got?
Hold on, give me 2 seconds.
Alrighty.
Right, so 2 things. First one is when you guys are talking, I was listening, and the question about how many Disney classics I've seen.
Okay.
So I've looked online. There's a list of 61 Disney classics since like the beginning of time, I think. I've seen 11.
That's not bad.
Yeah, better than I thought you were gonna say.
I thought you were gonna say like 2 or something.
Yeah.
No, I've seen 11. So not great. But in terms of the live action that you guys are saying, so a couple of like the live action ones, like The Lion King, I've seen the live action, but never the original one.
Oh wow!
So when everyone was like, "Well, the shot for shot," I was like, "I don't know what you're talking about." I was like, "This is new to me."
Right.
But one of my favorite live action. So I've got two favorite live action Disney remakes and stuff they've been making. First one's Jungle Book. I think that one was a great retelling. But my favorite is gotta be Cruella.
That's a great movie.
Oh,
That's
wow.
very good.
I love that movie.
It's very good. Emma Stone is great in that movie, and it helps that she's good looking. So you know.
Oh, 100%, my friend.
Yeah, no, that's a good pick. I forgot about that movie for whatever reason, but yeah, that's a great pick.
And I think they're making a second one, aren't they? Making a sequel, Mike?
Yeah, I'm over the moon.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be as good as that one. But
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah.
I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to it. I think Emma Stone's great in that role.
100%. Emma Thompson was also good as well.
I agree. She did great.
But I like Paul Walter Hauser in it, and I can't remember the other guy, but like the two goons of like Cruella.
Yeah, I don't remember their names.
Yeah, and Little Chihuahua as well. That was awesome.
Yeah, I agree.
So we got Dylan in here saying, I wish they explored the sinisterly sad backstory of Pinocchio's creator. I felt sad just watching the happy, subtle snippets, hints of what happened in his past throughout the movie.
Okay.
That's a cool take. Yeah, I guess I never thought about it, but they really kind of gloss over him.
Yeah, because he's pretty poor, from what I remember in the original.
Yeah, and I don't know. Is there more to him in other movies that I don't know about, or have they just never really talked about his backstory at all?
I'm not sure. I know a couple years ago I saw the Italian version, and that one is a very artsy one.
I heard.
Yeah, it's artsy, dude. It's kind of, there's some brutal like takings of how they treat Pinocchio in that movie. Like they try to hang Pinocchio from a rope and try to hang him and kill him. I mean, it's a dark movie.
Now, is this because Disney's losing like the rights to their properties, like what's happening with the Winnie the Pooh horror movie coming out next year?
I think like there's a certain period where they have the rights, and then afterwards, it's like a fair game type thing. I think is how it works. And apparently, that movie is going to be coming out in theaters. I don't know if it's going to get a wide release or what, but I'm definitely intrigued by it.
Me too.
Well, have you guys heard? So, firstly, I'll definitely be going to see it anyway. But also, the same director who's made the Winnie the Pooh one wants to make a horror Peter Pan.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
So, I think you're right, Harry. I think it must be Disney have them for so long, maybe some IPs. And then this director's like, right, which one's next?
Well, let me ask you guys this as a question off that. I mean, Mike, you haven't seen as many Disney movies, but if you could see them turn a horror movie or maybe a kid's movie or anything like that and turn it into a horror movie, is there a particular one that you would love to see?
That's a good question.
I actually read about this not long ago. And you know the original Scooby-Doo like live action movies?
Yes.
So they were done by James Gunn.
Okay.
And at the time, he wanted to make them both a horror movie. But Hanna-Barbera were like, that's not happening. So the thing is, it's all about like ghosts and people dressed up and stuff. So I think like a Scooby-Doo horror, I think that would be pretty darn cool.
Yeah,
different.
That'd be perfect.
Or Thomas the Tank Engine is a horror. That would be cool.
Yeah. I don't think anybody's thought of this before, but I would love to see Home Alone made as a slasher.
That would be epic. Like have him actually like brutally kill the intruders.
Robin Harry or whatever.
Yeah.
Well, have you not heard about that, Ryan?
No.
So a couple of years ago, you know, like how Macaulay Culkin kind of like went away for a while, and you know, I don't know if he was doing like drugs or drink, whatever he was doing at the time. On YouTube, I'm pretty sure on YouTube, I think he did like a fan edit of him as a grown-up Macaulay, like Kevin McAllister, like torturing the West Bandits in like a horror style.
Oh my gosh, that'd be awesome.
Oh,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's on YouTube.
dude, we gotta check
So
that
I
out.
guess that's kind of like the horror Home Alone.
Yeah, I would love to like see him like do like kind of like a Saw thing or something, have like a bunch of traps around the house, and have him like have like
Yeah.
a sinister laugh like every time like they, you know what I mean? Like you could have them like walking around and like they get their foot stuck in like a bear trap or something, and he has like some like
Right.
I don't know, just ideas running through the head there, but you know.
Yeah, I don't think I can top that pick. That's awesome. I was gonna say like have like a horror Little Mermaid or something, just a creepy deep sea movie with like what mermaids would probably be like in real life, just like almost like sirens from Greek mythology or something. I don't know. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
So has everyone? Where are we at with the number 2 picks? I lost track.
I think Mike, you just did your number 2, correct?
Yeah, I did mine. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
so I'm at my number 2 because Harry, you haven't done yours yet, correct?
Right.
Okay, so my number 2 is a director that you guys do know, and that would be Mr. Zack Snyder.
Wow. Zack Snyder.
Okay.
Yeah, and the films that I like by him are Justice League, the Zack Snyder Justice League, Man of Steel, Watchmen, 300. Probably a movie that it doesn't really not a lot of people talk about, but Guardians of Gahul. It's like a kids movie. It came out. I want to say it was like 2009. I really did like that movie, and then one of my favorites from him that kind of a lot of people don't really, I think, care for that much, but Sucker Punch.
Haven't seen that one, but
Yeah.
No.
yeah, great pick, man. I didn't realize he did all those films. I think
Yeah.
Man of Steel's underrated out
Yeah.
of that list, I will say.
Mm.
I love
Yeah.
that movie. I don't know why
Yeah.
it gets the hate that it does, but
Yeah, I love it as too.
Mm-hmm.
yeah, he definitely has a unique style. Like when you're watching a Zack Snyder movie. Yeah.
Well, I think
Right.
I was gonna say, I think when he came out with like 300, he really, I feel like he kind of created like that stop motion effect that kind of is we see in movies now. At least I
Right.
can't think of any other director that did that before him. Maybe somebody did, but that was one of the first ones that I can remember that had like the stop motion kind of or the slow motion kind of thing.
Yeah, I'd say it's that and Matrix. I forget
Yeah.
who directed The Matrix, but
Yeah.
yeah, those two movies, it's like you always hear people say, "Oh, they're copying The Matrix, they're copying 300 or whatever." you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Yeah. So, and then Sucker Punch has just been always one of my favorite films from him in general. It's one of my favorite films of all time. I don't know. It's just something about that movie that just really intrigues me. I just love that it goes into like a fantasy kind of world. I like fantasy kind of movies, but I don't feel like we get a lot of them.
Yeah, no.
And that movie has a unique premise too. And I'm just holding out for whenever they put that movie on 4K because I don't even know if it even has a Blu-ray, to be honest with you. I got the DVD. I'm still rocking that. So I hope one day they put it on 4K. I mean, he's popular enough director that hopefully like it gets, something, but I know it doesn't have like a good score, I think, on like Rotten Tomatoes and stuff. But Emily Browning is in that movie. She's not really like a big actress, and I really like some of the stuff that she's been in. She doesn't really act that much anymore, but she's the main character in Sucker Punch. So that's one movie that really has always kind of stuck with me. And then obviously 300 and Watchmen. I really like that movie as well because I feel like it's a darker kind of superhero movie too, and it's more my kind of a superhero movie than say like Marvel, which I don't think it's a Marvel movie, right? It's a DC movie, correct?
I think it is DC.
I think it's DC.
Sure.
But if it was Marvel, it definitely doesn't have the tone like Marvel anyway. But I've always enjoyed that movie, the unique characters that are in that one, and it's just a different kind of style, I think, for a superhero movie too, compared to some of the other ones we've seen. So, but yeah, that's my pick, number 2.
Nice.
Very cool pick.
Didn't expect that.
Yeah, definitely didn't. And he's controversial, I feel like, it's like a polarizing director there, but that's a really
Yeah.
cool pick. He has a great filmography that you listed too.
Yeah.
So that's awesome.
He's got a lot of movies I like, so that kind of factors in as well.
Yeah, so for me, my number 2 is Christopher Nolan. So you both
Nice.
already listed him, but I'd list him at number 2. Main reason being I pretty much like all his movies besides Tenet, and I don't love Interstellar. Yeah,
Mhm.
I don't love Interstellar. I think for me, he's one of those directors though, where when he did some of his earlier movies like Memento, Insomnia, they have this like thing to them where you get the Nolan concept, where he's really good at thinking of like great storylines or concepts, but then they don't have the massive scope and budget to make it a crazy huge movie. So you kind of get
Right.
those practical effects and like a great storyline to showcase, and I think it showcases him really really well. So I love Memento. That's just a great movie. If you guys haven't seen it, it's one of his earliest. I think it's his second film. I mean, it's one of those concepts that I wish I could come up with and put on a script.
Yeah.
And then Insomnia is, to me, one of his most underrated movies. I know I mentioned this on your stream, Mike.
Right.
Insomnia is like a movie I don't think most people have seen, but if you haven't seen it, check it out. It has Al Pacino as the lead character and then Robin Williams as the antagonist.
Oh wow.
It is
Wow.
amazing. I mean, it's thrilling. The concept is incredible. It has that Nolan flair to it, but it's very grounded. Definitely check that movie out. And overall, I mean, Nolan has just been a huge inspiration to me, and I love pretty much all his movies. And then there's the Dark Knight trilogy to throw on top of all that, but we could talk about
Right.
that for hours. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check out Memento and Insomnia. Yeah, I've never seen them.
Same here. I haven't seen those either.
Yeah, definitely check them out. They're like you'll be able to tell they're a Nolan movie, but much lower budget, more simple and really really good.
Right. Awesome.
Yeah, then we have Jason Frank Capra. Oh wow, It's a Wonderful Life.
Never seen that movie.
So out of all those, I've seen It's a Wonderful Life, and I've seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. And the only reason why I've seen Mr. Smith Goes to Washington is because I took film studies in high school, and that was one of the first movies we watched.
Wow.
So
did you like it?
I did like it.
Cool.
It was an interesting movie. And It's a Wonderful Life was a pretty good movie as well. So
yeah, Jason, I watch It's a Wonderful Life every Christmas. Me and my fiance. It's one of our favorite movies of all time. Love that movie.
yeah.
So yeah, Frank Capra. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a good pick.
And then we have Corey Fetter here. What's up, Corey? Saying, but live action Little Mermaid is cursed from what I've seen.
It seems like a lot of people have really hated on it.
Yeah, I think there's not necessarily something super redeeming about it yet to really defend it. So I'm not sure. Any thoughts, Mike?
Well, I've never seen the original, so if I don't see the original before the live action, that would be my introduction. I mean, obviously, I know the big thing. I think people's going off is like the casting choice and the different kind of like race swap kind of thing. Which I can kind of get. Obviously, if people's grown up with like the original cartoon, then they might be like, "Oh, what's this sudden change?" But as long as the actress does a great job, the teaser trailer didn't show much like at all. So I don't think it's fair to be like, "Oh, that looks terrible" when you haven't seen anything.
Right.
The other thing I'm a little bit reluctant though is I've heard Melissa McCarthy's Ursula.
What's your favorite actress?
Nah, I'm going. Yeah, I'm not a fan of her at all.
Oh, okay.
So when I heard about her being the villain, I was like, well, actually, being a villain, she could be okay. She's not doing a stupid slapstick comedy usual gag. So yeah, I'm intrigued. I'll go see it.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I mean, it's. I just hope she does a better job than she did in Catwoman. That's all I ask. So,
There you go.
Right.
but all right, guys, I think we're at our number one picks. So
Nice.
pretty cool. We're here at just under 2 hours, so we're making good time actually.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, Mike, what is your number one favorite director of all time?
All right, yes. I don't think you guys are going to expect this one. But anyway, so quick story before I tell you about it. So it was kind of around, I guess, maybe 2017, 2018. I can't quite remember when. And my nephew said to me, because at this point I like anime, but I can't really say like I've ever watched like loads of anime movies. I always used I grew up watching Yu-Gi-Oh, so that was another series I would just watch and repeat. Like the original Pokemon, stuff like that. And he said to me, he's like, Mike, he's like, have you seen a movie called Your Name? And I was like, Your Name? I was like, what's that all about? And I got shown this movie, and that changed my perception forever on anime movies. So I own it on 4K collector's edition. I was like, I had to get the collector's edition. Then the same director made a movie called RWR Movie, which I have the ultimate 4K collector's edition, which is quite expensive. So I have that movie, and then I have one before then, In the Garden of Words. So a director called Makoto Shinkai is my favorite director.
Wow, that is a
Interesting,
super
man.
cool pick, Mike.
So, honestly, guys, so this one here, so Garden of Words, it used to be on Netflix. I'm not sure if it still is. 46-minute movie, but just beautiful animation, beautiful story. Your Name, though, is, I think, one of the best stories I've ever seen in anime. And it's just, I've cried a couple of times at this movie.
Wow.
So, yeah, I'd recommend that movie. So if you guys have never seen Your Name, I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Recommend that movie.
Mike, I got it right here. I don't have the
the
epic 4K, but dude, I had a very similar experience with this movie. It's beautiful. I don't know what else to say about it.
Right.
Ryan, I'm jealous that you can experience it for the first time.
Yeah, I haven't seen any of those. I've heard of Weathering with You, but the other two I have not heard of.
Yeah, it brought me to tears. I mean, and I'm excited to check out the other two, Mike's. I haven't seen them, but yeah, that's a super cool pick, man.
Yeah, man. Just as I say, it's just like with Your Name, especially like as you said, Harry. Just like it just changed my perception forever after I watched that movie. And I'm not trying to hype this up too much, Ryan, and you'd be like, "Oh, that was terrible." But, but it just, I don't know. I guess it's because I didn't expect anything from it. I knew nothing about this movie.
Yeah.
And I went in and I watched it, and I was like that kind of experience when you have and you watch that movie, and it just changes your perception.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like fireworks are going off in your brain. Be like, "What the hell? Why have I not experienced this before?"
Yeah.
That's the experience I had with that movie. So since then, I explored his filmography, which Weathering with You is his most latest movie.
Mm-hmm.
And In the Garden of Words, I think, was maybe one or two movies before Your Name.
Oh, wow.
But again, beautiful movie. So yeah, Makoto Shinkai is my favorite.
That's a great pick. Seriously. Yeah. Fun fact about him, I remember reading, like, as I watched Your Name and I was like, I gotta look this guy up, and I remember watching, like, his process is really beautiful of how he developed the characters for Your Name, and for a lot of his movies, he'll go out and like a subway station or like a public place, like a coffee shop, and he'll sit and like people watch and just observe the way people act and the acts of kindness they do for each other and write them down, and he just takes in like the environment around him and gets inspiration for how his characters will act and how to bring the world kind of alive in a way. I just thought that was a really cool way that he does that. I've never heard of anything like that. So yeah, just figured I'd throw that out there.
I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a really cool guy, it seems like. So
Wow.
Ryan, please watch Your Name.
I'll have to add it to the list.
Put that at the top.
Okay.
So, Ryan, what's your number one favorite director of all time, man?
Oh man, this was tough, but so I picked Sam Raimi, and this is mainly because he's done quite a bit of films that I like. He's done both Evil Dead films. He's done Army of Darkness. He's done all the Spider Mans, the original trilogy. The newest Doctor Strange. He did Oz Great and Powerful, and he did one of my favorite horror movies, Drag Me to Hell. So yeah, I mean,
Wow.
I dig a lot of his stuff, and if I'm not mistaken, I feel like Spider-Man may have been one of the first superhero movies that I saw in a theater, if I remember when that came out. I can't remember exactly when that came out, but I think that may have been one of the first ones that I watched. And Spider-Man is one of my favorite, superheroes ever. And, that and Batman have always been my two favorites. So seeing Spider-Man on screen for the first time with Tobey Maguire and capturing that moment and just, I like all three films, but I know people that have problems with the third one. But I like them all with Tobey Maguire. So yeah, I mean, and then he's done the newest Doctor Strange, which I really like that they put like a horror spin on that, mainly because I think that it really kind of, it kind of changes up the formula a little bit from Marvel. We always kind of say that Marvel has this like formula. I think Marvel, with the formula they had for something like Thor: Love and Thunder, like that's the Marvel that I don't like. I like
Right.
when Marvel takes a little bit more chances, and I think since I've watched a lot more Marvel movies as time has gone on, I appreciate the different ones that they tried to do. And I think that's why a movie like, say, like The Internals didn't do really well because it was something different and people didn't like it as much. I was kind of okay with it, but I think I've grown to appreciate it more. And I think, I just think with Doctor Strange in general, I think that new one, he did a really good job with it, but I think, like we talked about earlier, I think there were a lot of things that he could have done more of, but I think it's because Marvel held him back. So I think we could have gotten a lot more scarier film with Doctor Strange, and I think that's why also a lot of people really like Everything Everywhere All at Once, because they felt like that's what Doctor Strange should have been as far as the craziness. And A24 was amazing that they put that out like right when Doctor Strange was coming out, because like I'm pretty sure, I don't know if you guys saw, but I think before Doctor Strange came on, I think that was one of the trailers that I saw, and that's just like awesome marketing. So
Yeah.
So I mean, I definitely liked a lot of, and Drag Me to Hell. I really love that movie. I love like the humor in that, some of the over the top. I don't know if you guys seen Drag Me to Hell. I don't know if you have.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
I love the over the top part, Mike. You know what I'm talking about, where the chick
Yeah.
has the nosebleed and she's like, it's buckets of blood out of her nose with the nosebleed, and I like that it has that comedy effect, but it also has the way that he just structured horror in that movie, and just the ending scene and everything that goes with that film. I just think he does a really good job with that film, and it's always stuck with me. I think it's it's grown more and more as a more important horror film for me as time has gone on. I think for some they don't really like it all, but yeah, I mean this is why he's one. He's my favorite director. He just he's got that solid filmography. Quite a bit of films that I like. So I mean that's all you can ask for. I mean, like I said, this list was really hard to put together, but once really thinking about it and thinking of how many films that some of these directors have done and what we like, he's the top of my list as far as films that I've really enjoyed. So that's why he's number one.
Great pick. Great pick.
Yeah, very good pick, man. You're inspiring me to go see the rest of his films, because I really haven't seen many other than the Spider-Mans and then the new Doctor Strange. So yeah, I gotta go check him out.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. I think we know Harry's number one.
I think you do. But before I reveal it, let's catch up on some of these comments here.
Sure.
But I'm sure you guys know it. So Jason says, Mike must have been excited when Melissa McCarthy showed up for a cameo in Thor: Love and Thunder.
No, I was not.
And then
Definitely contributed towards that movie being terrible.
I think his excitement canceled out with Love and Thunder's storyline. Yeah. Definitely agree there.
Yeah, I think probably Thor's probably the worst Marvel movie this year.
Yeah.
I think it's the worst one.
Well, we've had 4 Doctor Strange and Black Panther, right? Movie-wise.
Right, I was going to say, is that it? I
I
think.
feel like there's another one in there.
If that's it, then I agree, yeah.
I think so.
I think
I
so.
think there's been any more.
Unless Eternals is in, I can't remember when that came
No,
out.
Eternals
but-
was in November last year.
Oh, okay.
So that wasn't
Yeah.
this year.
And then we got Jason with his number 1 pick, Steven Spielberg. I mean, you can't really get more solid than that.
Mhm.
Right.
The Indiana Jones franchise, Jurassic Park 1 and 2, War of the Worlds, and Ready Player One. Cool,
Yeah,
we
Ready
got
Player
Ready
One's
Player
cool.
One fans here. That's
I
pretty
love
cool.
that movie so much. It's so good.
Hot take, I don't like Indiana Jones.
Oh.
I used to like them more. I'll say that. I never loved them, but I used to like them more. Upon watching them in like the last couple years, I don't think they hold up. It's just me personally. I watched Raiders of the Lost Ark and I was surprised. I was really bored. Like I don't know what's wrong with me, but I just personally I think his other movies hold up much better. So I don't know.
Fair.
Fair enough.
And then we get this beautiful comment right here.
Love it. Hashi Tarzan.
Thank you for that.
Love it.
All right, guys. Well, my number 1, no surprise to you guys, my number 1 favorite director of all time is James Cameron. Got a couple of his movies here. We got Aliens and Avatar.
Nice.
Like Mike said earlier with his honorable mention, he makes the biggest movies ever that change everything when they're made. Aliens alone might get him on my list just because personally, and I have a whole video on this for a half hour, talk to my dad about it. But personally, this movie changed my perception of movies, similar to some of the other guys' movies. And just the set pieces, the directing, the characters, I just think James Cameron and just the visual storytelling, for me personally, no one has inspired me more. And like you said with your name, Mike, just the fireworks going off in my head when I watch a James Cameron film is unmatched for me. Even like a movie like Avatar that, you know, looking back, a lot of people criticize. For me personally, I think it really holds up as a spectacle and just pure escapism. I love Avatar. And
Me too.
Awesome
cool.
movie.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Both of you guys enjoy.
Yeah, I got the box set that they came out with, the Blu-ray box that they came out with Best Buy. That's a great set. That's got tons of features and stuff. I know me and Mike are definitely excited for it. I can't wait for the second one. That is my most anticipated coming up. So I'm looking forward to it.
Same here, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I can't wait. I haven't watched any other trailers. I just watched the one trailer, and I'm like, that's all I need. I'm gonna go see it. So.
Yeah, I mean they've done a good job with the trailers not showing much, but I'm the same way. I watched one and I was like, and then I cracked and watched the second one, but it didn't show anything. So.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but so for me, James Cameron, I mean, you can go down the list. And the biggest thing being just the consistency. Like, I know for you guys, that was a big part of your list too. It's hard not to be, you know, because you look at the filmography. I looked at his filmography. I'm like, wait, I like every single movie. And I couldn't really say that about many other directors. So.
Right.
Plus,
he's got Titanic. That's a great movie too.
Yeah. Titanic. He's got True Lies. I enjoy too. So just even like some of his smaller films.
Yeah, I would say Titanic is easily close to the top of the list of all time movies for me. And you know, sometimes when you watch a 3-hour movie, you go, oh my God, this is 3 hours. How am I going to sit through this for 3 hours? But Titanic, I never get tired of that movie. I mean, throw in the fact that that's a time period that we don't particularly know about because it's
Right.
so long ago. It's the early 1900s. I mean, what do you really know too much about the early 1900s? And
Right.
just like the fact that this ship was unsinkable, like it was like the Hawkamania ship, that wasn't gonna sink.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and then like gets an iceberg hits it, and it's a bunch of shit. It really wasn't the unsinkable ship. It's just an amazing story, and I think even through not even just watching the film, but even through me, I like learning about history. I think history was one of my favorite subjects growing up when I was in school, and every time we learned about the Titanic, I was like glued to the book, just wanting to read more about it and just the history of it. So getting to see that movie in theaters with my dad, even though I was 9 years old and I probably shouldn't have been seeing some of the scenes in there with Kate Winslet, but
Yeah.
What is that, Dad? Well, son, you're being a man today. So
Right.
James Cameron initiated the talk for kids everywhere. I mean, it's true. Yeah, I agree with you about Titanic. I need to watch it again. To be honest, it's been a really long time since I've seen it. But my fiance, that's her favorite movie of all time. She loves that movie.
Well, what's interesting is they're going to be releasing that movie back in theaters next year, I believe.
Really?
And they're supposed to be dropping it on 4K. So if they drop that on 4K next year, that's like a day one purchase right there, dude.
Yeah, man. Definitely. I'll wait in a line for that.
Yeah, I can't wait. I hope that if they do, they are releasing next year. I hope it gets a really nice steelbook because I'll be all over that.
Yeah, we even have this picture sitting over here with the blue heart, because
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool, man.
That's
awesome. That's
awesome.
just how into it she is, and I love it too. So it's pretty cool.
Great movie.
Yeah, definitely. I think they'll definitely get a good steelbook for that, though. Can't imagine James wanting that to release on 4K, just bog standard edition,
Yeah, I hope not.
Nah, I'm waiting for the Avatar 4K.
Thank you for that.
Wow, get some
Glad
great
you
comments
enjoy.
here.
Jason, that's about the most shocking thing I've heard all night, and Mike is there. I wonder what he was referring to.
Is referring to Titanic or referring to the?
What did we say that was shocking?
Unless he's talking about the director he had.
Oh, maybe what I said about Indiana Jones?
Oh, okay. Indiana Jones. That makes sense.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing. I don't know.
Well, the thing is, though, it's like you either like it or you don't, And Ryan's never seen it.
Right. It's one of those things too where I think I heard you say this like a week ago, Ryan, and I think you're right. Like when someone tells you to go, you have to check out this movie. It's one of the best movies ever made.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Maybe you imagine something in your head of what it should be, and then when you get there, it's not what it was, and you're like, I'm afraid to admit I don't like this type of thing.
Yeah.
I feel like Indiana Jones, it's like the opposite, where my memory of it is like it's one of the best things ever made, and then when I go to watch it, I expect that again, and it just wasn't there for whatever reason.
Right.
So I don't know. Have you guys ever experienced that with a movie?
Yeah. I mean, there's older movies that people really like, and I watch them, and I'm like, this just isn't it for me, So
right.
And a good example of that is, and I'm sure there'll be a couple people roasting me later, but I'm not a huge fan of E.T.
I've never seen it, so that's even worse.
Yeah, I recently watched it, and I wasn't that big of a fan of it. I think I pictured E.T. being more so because in the movie he has these kids discover him. I thought the movie was going to be more so like he goes on adventures with the kids and they go into space together and stuff. But that's not what the movie is. So
right.
It's a little more simplistic.
I've never seen the whole thing, but I kind of expected the same thing. And then when they're like the whole scene with him and the scientist and all, what they're doing to him is like, okay, I was not expecting that.
Yeah.
So,
1 second.
Right. Yeah, I've never seen E.T. Either. But yeah, I guess for me, Harry, one like recently was so many people had said, "Oh, you needed to watch The Lost Boys."
Mm-hmm.
Never seen The Lost Boys, so I watched it and I thought it was good, but I was like, I don't get the hype for this movie.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But again, I think it's a lot of people who watched that maybe grew up near that timepiece, and that was maybe a childhood movie for them or grown up kind of movie, so they've got memories of it.
Right.
Yeah.
Whereas, me going in 2022 watching this movie from 80 year it was, I was like, oh, it was all right.
Yeah, I think that makes a big difference too, because a lot of times when you are used to experiencing certain technology and then you go back in time, and depending on the movie, like you're like, this just doesn't hold up. And I think for a movie like Lost Boys, for me personally, I don't think it holds up. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah,
but a lot
I
of people
agree.
love that movie. And more power to them. I mean, I get it. Maybe I would love to know if more people that like that movie, were they around during that time, or is it something where it caught on later? I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know enough about the movie to know.
I'd be curious too, like if they've seen it recently, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the biggest thing. Is like, have you seen it recently and reassessed your feeling on it, right?
But I also think this though, and I've said this sometimes. Some people, when it comes to movies, some people, we're critics and we view movies and we can see what we particularly like and things that work for us and don't work. But I think some people, when they're not as avid movie watchers or they don't watch as many movies, I feel like sometimes their criticism is a little bit, how should I say it? Like if they're easy to please, I guess. Like, because some
Right.
people, like, if they don't watch as many movies and, they watch just certain movies, then they may just like it. You know what I mean? Like they don't see what we see as critics. You know what I mean? So,
Dude, example from last night, I went to see Wakanda Forever, and I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the people sitting next to me, they're like, I don't care if people make noise in the movie if it's like part of enjoying the film, I guess. But this was like excessive level. Everything that happened, they're like, "Whoa, no way! What? That's crazy! What? No, how did she do that? What?" It's like, dude, do you watch movies? Like, it's not that incredible or something. But to your point, it's like, I don't know when the last time they came out to a theater was. Like I don't know if maybe this is like a big moment for them or something. I don't know.
Well, I gotta say, I think Marvel has kind of a mixed fan base, because I think you have people that like the comic books and they're there for the comic book type style. You have people that like the comedy and maybe they like the action, the CGI. But then you have the people that go out to those movies and they never go to movies and they just go see those movies. So their brain is like functioning to just see like Marvel movies or just when the big movies come out. I think a lot of people also, at least that I know, whenever a movie comes out, they're usually talking about a superhero movie. And I think a lot of those kind of people also, they watch a lot of shows like on like Netflix and stuff, versus us, we watch more movies than shows. I don't know. I guess that's just like the trend, I guess. I don't know. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of film fans out there, and the people that watch those Marvel movies are film fans too. But I'm just saying, like, from an audience perspective, there's a very diverse audience when watching those films, and you do get a lot of those people that never go to the movies. So what you're saying, what you experience, they're going to have that experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So,
yeah, I mean, every Marvel movie, you guys probably tested this as well, but every Marvel movie I've ever seen in the cinema, or DC for that matter, is you'll always get people walk out as soon as the credits hit.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are they not aware that all these movies have post-credit scenes?
Yeah, all the time. All the time.
Half my theater was gone as soon as the credits hit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Get it.
It's like, come on, guys, rookie move here.
Yeah.
We got Dylan here saying the Lego version of Indiana Jones was clearly better. I like the games.
They're putting them games
Yeah.
Mm.
And then
Like
I like
the
the moon
landing.
landing. Stanley Kubrick was honestly the best director because wait, I like the. Oh my god. Are you saying that Stanley Kubrick directed the actual moon landing? That conspiracy theory?
Oh God.
Never heard of that.
There's a conspiracy that Kubrick directed the actual U.S. landing on the moon because he is so good at making space seem real in 2001,
Hmm.
Space Odyssey.
Okay.
And then
Okay.
like they think there's signs of that in The Shining. So anyway, that's a funny
Interesting.
comment.
Okay.
Okay, fair.
Well, anyway, guys, that pretty much wraps up all the comments. It wraps up our top 5 favorite directors.
Yeah.
That was super cool to hear your picks. Definitely gonna dive more into some of your picks, like Juan and Sam Raimi. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, man.
Thank you guys for coming on. This was awesome.
Yeah. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it, man.
Thanks for having me, man. Yeah, it was a blast.
Yeah, we may have to do this again. It's my first time live streaming, but I had a blast. So this was awesome.
Yeah, man. Definitely, for sure.
I'm interested what you pick next.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Just don't pick top 5 Melissa McCarthy movies because I'm not
Yeah.
showing up.
Okay, fine. I'll do 5 Natalie Portman movies and have you answer that.
I'm not showing up that either.
Do you guys want to talk about what you're doing coming up on your channels?
Yeah, Mike, you can go ahead and go first if you want.
Yeah, sure. So I've just before the stream, maybe an hour before the stream, I dropped a review for Black Panther: Wakanda Forever. I dropped that today, and a movie called Bar Fight. I nearly forgot the name because it was that terrible, that movie. So I dropped reviews for those. The next video from me is maybe not going to be till maybe Sunday, where I'm carrying on covering Michael J. Fox's filmography over on my channel. But besides that, on Sunday, I'm also going to be on Rashad G's channel to do a full spoiler discussion on Black Panther. So, yeah, that's what I've got. Oh, on Monday is Slashback, the Shudder movie, Ryan, is it?
Yes, that's Shudder.
Yeah, that's what I've got coming up.
Okay. Nice,
Cool.
man. Plenty of stuff.
Right.
For me, I just dropped a review for this movie called The Silent Twins, which is premiering on Peacock right now. And then I have a review for the movie Emily the Criminal with Aubrey Plaza, which will be coming out on Sunday. And then Monday I have Slashback, which is a Shudder screening that me and Mike are both reviewing. And then next week I have a stream with Fox Norvig. We're going to be counting down our top 10 superhero movies. So that'll be Monday night. And then Tuesday night, I have a stream with a YouTuber called Zach Attack Reviews. And we're going to be doing our top 15 films from 2010. So that's what I got coming up.
Nice.
Cool.
Plenty of stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Both you guys have links in the description to your channels. Definitely go check them out. And they have super fun content, movie-related stuff, tons of stuff coming up. And I'll probably have them on here again too. But go down in the description and definitely sub to them both. Yeah.
I mean.
And as far as me coming up, I'm going to be continuing my James Cameron reviews. Next up is The Abyss. So expect that in the next 3-4 days.
Okay.
And then I'll be reviewing all his movies leading up to the release of the new Avatar film. So that's pretty much going to take most of my time right now. And then maybe I'll see the menu, I'm thinking, and might review that film. But other than that, that's pretty much it.
Nice, man.
Yeah.
Man, I've been loving your discussions with your dad. They're awesome.
Yeah. I got to watch
Thank
the
you.
Aliens one yet, but I did watch the other one they had about Terminator stuff.
Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you.
Yeah.
My dad is, as you can tell, super passionate. So I knew, even growing up, he was like drilled these movies into my head. He loves them so much, and I thought, like, oh, I have to have you on to talk about it. So yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of knowledge with about the movie and stuff. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Thanks. I'm glad you enjoy it.
Yeah. Man.
Well, again, thank you guys for coming on. This was awesome. Seriously.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us on again.
All right. Well, we are going to end there. Take care, guys. Have a good night, and we'll see you later.
All right, man. Later.
See ya.
Later.